we were looking for other Dawns. We tried Kimiko Glenn, we tried Colleen, and you
How'd that
were
work
the
out?
only one we could find.
Yeah.
So sorry
Well,
about that.
I'm glad it
Just
worked out. You
we're
know.
so grateful to have all of you for our what is this called? What did I call this? The A Star is Born, a very hazy holiday edition. So that's what's gonna happen.
No dialogue. Go, go, go. Can you hear me now? I've put in my AirPods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's
good.
Pulled
better.
out some AirPod Pros.
I hate this background.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna introduce
I
everybody.
miss you, Gabby.
Oh, how long has it been since you guys saw each other?
A minute.
Month.
I wish. It was probably at the West End. I think I saw you both at the West End.
Definitely at the West
must have been
End.
like
Yeah, that's what it was. It was So it was either one of the Did you do Pride? No,
No, I wish. I wasn't in town.
you didn't do
I
Pride.
think you all
We
did.
did drunk Little Mermaid all three together.
You sure
Yes.
did.
Drunk little.
I think that's when we met. Yeah, it was
was.
messy. I was scuttled. Whoa.
Oh, I had a horrible time, so I couldn't really connect with
Yeah.
you.
Baby, that
I'm glad
Jackie
we
Lips.
had
Really,
these.
I also had a horrible time. I think that's how we got close.
Who just said that?
You walked me home after, I think.
Yes. Oh my
I walked
gosh.
me home because on my way to rehearsal, like this guy, I live in Washington Heights. This
Oh.
guy like was in my lobby and he shoved me and he was like, "This is my fucking house," and I was like, "Hey."
So,
You don't own this
where are we
building.
rolling up? What's the address we need to find this man?
I will put it in the chat.
Thank
I'll
you.
put it in the chat.
We will
And
be
from
there,
the
mask
chat-
and all.
And from the
Stop
chat, we'll put it
him.
on the podcast. and
No,
we'll make it
I
the title.
literally did
Yeah.
have to walk her home. That was scary.
Oh my God.
So I'd like to take a moment to say who everybody is.
It is,
Um,
yes.
We started.
And,
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
going to start.
I
I'm Keith.
also forgot that we started too.
Oh yeah,
Oh wait, I forgot to.
for
What?
sure. That's kind of the point. It's like a Joe Rogan thing, you know, where you do
Sure.
what Joe Rogan does, and you just think it's going to work out.
Transphobic.
Mid conversation type of shit. We have, in order of the screens you're seeing, Gabriella Marzetta. She was just laid off from the Waitress National Tour.
She was,
And
she
she
was
played.
Dawn, and it was a star.
She's
I
a
wish I could
star,
have seen it.
and this star is bored. Next, we have Gabriel Florentino, a New York City native. His hometown is Brooklyn.
Yes.
And he
My bestest
returned from
friend.
achieving his BFA at Point Park University. I love that word for completing college. I achieved it.
Hey.
Can't
It
take
is
that
an
from me.
achievement. Bitch, BFA
Hey.
programs are no joke.
Okay.
I would say
Sometimes they
surviving
make you
college
wanna
was a
die.
miracle for me more than an achievement. But
Yeah.
you
Oh,
went to
gosh.
Point Park, and we'll get to this. We have like the most mutual friends than anybody
Yes.
on this. We have 55 mutual friends. And
What?
later in this
Holy
podcast, we're going to find
hell.
out who they are, why we
Okay.
know them.
I already know one of them.
Me.
No, Lisa.
Oh,
It's a me.
Lisa!
Lisa, who's gonna also be on this podcast very soon on our Dogman episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to have a Dogman
Wow.
episode. We're going to turn up.
Yes.
And you just got back from oh no, you're back. You were born
Oh
back.
yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah. I'm chilling. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Right now.
And the next person we have is the incomparable technical Michael Nigro. No, I'm gonna wait till he gets back.
Hey, I'm here.
Oh.
What an entrance.
Yeah,
I'm
elegantly done. So our next guest is Michael Nigro. He just finished working at the Maine State Music Theater last summer. You could have seen him as Barnaby in Hello, Dolly, but he's mostly known by many people in the state of Maine for his critically acclaimed Jim Hawkins in Treasure Island. That's what
Oh my.
the Times went up for. You, they called you Michael Nigro. Pretty amazing, iconic. You've also seen him in you were in Sound of Music Live, right?
He sure
Yes,
was.
sir.
Yeah.
As
You
Friedrich.
left that out of
Oh,
your bio,
right.
but I did research. Thank
Yeah.
God.
I told you that, Keith.
You did? Oh, wait, that's right. I didn't do research. What is this, a paper? Hell no.
What is
And last but not least, we have Jace Zeev.
the
And-
lovely.
Jace
All right, the
is
cat
a
just knocked something
non-binary.
over. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, go ahead.
Did you hear that? That was crazy.
Yes.
You broke the mug? Dude.
Oh no! Oh no! All right, wait.
Go
We have
away
to keep
before you
this.
catch a little pause. Hold on. You can't. I'm
Oh my God!
Our next
So-
guest is Jace Zeev. Somebody in Jace's house recently broke a mug.
It's not the
Jace is
person,
a
it was a cat.
non-binary
If it was a cat.
who loves
I am
roller
non-binary.
coasters, Rubik's Cubes, and queer theory.
Yes.
They are writing an original musical. They wrote about a queer student union organizing in response to a school shooting. Their favorite roles include Corey in The Naked Truth and Blades in Tinker Rising. I don't know what that's about, but I'm gonna
can I tell
find
you a
out.
little bit about those shows?
Yes, please.
Okay, so both of those are actually new works. They're some of the first things that I did in New York. I'm coming back. I just sweet. The glass is clean, and I am trans. Okay, so
Ah,
here's some of the first things that I did. Hello, hi, I'm back. I'm glad
back.
for everything that I said. You just got clear on it. So
yes.
those shows. Anyway, so can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
I'll just
Yes.
project. I have a BFA. So they were some of the first shows that I did in New York, and they were my first non-binary roles where I got to play roles that were also non-binary. For the longest time, I had to pigeonhole myself into stuff that I wasn't, because that's where the industry is for the most part. But these were the most exciting for me. The Naked Truth is actually a show written by Ian Connor, who a lot of us know, and Adam Rainier, who I think some of us also know. And the role Corey was initially based on me. When I met the two of them doing Cats, which they won't talk about, they were working on this musical, and they about like sex therapy, and they met me and they were like, wait, let's write a role for a non-binary person. So that was exciting to be able to play a role that was written for me, like with that kind of mindset, and the music is so much fun. And then the other one, Tinker Rising, is a supervillain love story about lesbians who fall in love that are actually arch nemesis. And I was the non-binary supervillain sidekick.
I love that.
That sounds
Star.
fantastic.
An
Tinker
absolute
Rising.
star.
Tinker Rising. It's a really fun show. That's by a playwright named Hollis Beck. She's fantastic. Really fun stuff. She recently moved back to Texas to do voiceover acting.
Man. Have you guys had to do voiceover work at all during any of this? If you found yourself having
I
to
wish.
film
I wish, yeah.
Keep that bank account rolling. Breathe
Okay.
life back into her.
Right.
Also, I just want to for a sec brag about Jace's musical. I have had the pleasure and honor of reading it. It is incredible. I am so excited for them to be able to talk a bit more about that in the future, but please keep your eyes out for it. It is incredible. So,
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to be able to kind of write a show that fills a void that I've seen for so long. And to know that the people that I've had involved with it actually like it. Like, you know, you can write a million things and be like, I think this is good, and then someone else goes, but like everybody seems to genuinely like it, so it makes me makes my little gay heart so happy.
That's literally so wonderful. There's no better feeling when like you put everything you have into what you're writing, and you're so vulnerable about how it's going to turn out, that when people actually respond to like the heart that you put into it, it's it's so validating. So I'm
It's
so
yeah,
happy.
it's really
And I'm
exciting.
glad
Thank
you could hold
Thank
on
you.
to that during this time. 'Cause-
Oh yeah, well, so fun fact. I know this is coming out on 420.
What?
That was the day, and what?
What?
That was that was the day we were originally going to have a full concert reading of the show and invite some producers in to come see it. Alas, that is not happening anymore. So
For now.
it is a bit postponed, and it's
Only for now.
trying to stay busy. It's been interesting, but I've gotten some new edits in. It's actually been really exciting and fulfilling to kind of take advantage of the time. I was at a point where I was like, don't touch it, just let it be until we do the reading. And now I'm like, I can actually tweak it a little bit more and more and more. Silver linings. Playbook.
That's amazing.
movie.
Now,
Can you work? Oh, sorry. Keep.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Gabe,
Chris.
you comfortable?
I am. I feel really comfortable.
Shut
Thank
up.
you.
I'm listening.
Oh, Gabe. Gabe, are you comfortable?
He's laying down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay,
it's
Seymour.
it's dope when you don't even have to feel like you have to stay upright for anything anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely
Everybody
not.
just
That's
has
the
to be,
quarantine, honestly.
You don't have to wear pants. You don't have to
Exactly.
go vertical.
Are you wearing pants?
Yes.
I almost didn't wear pants. I
That
was
was
so
I
close.
thought about it. I
No,
almost
of
didn't.
course I'm wearing.
I might
I'm
take
wearing
off.
sweatpants, unfortunately.
I'm wearing
I have
sweatpants.
Oh no, I'm wearing sweatpants. But... okay,
That's
okay.
There you go.
surprise. No, I'm kidding.
Michael's wearing sweatpants.
Go, Chris. Go.
Wow. So, Michael, you like Neil Patrick Harris, right?
Yeah. Oh
Why?
man. I
Why?
was trying to think. Neil Patrick Harris. I like him because in terms of performing, he's very versatile. Like he's great with TV, film, and he's great with theater. And I've always wanted to sort of branch out. Ever since I kind of entered the business, I guess, non-professionally and then professionally, I always wanted to do lots of different things that involved performing, and I didn't want to be like stuck just being a theater actor. But I feel like I'm more comfortable doing that. So he's someone I look up to a lot, just because he seems to bridge that gap so well and so effortlessly.
Bless you.
And the opportunities continue to, like, you know what I mean? He's not that kind of person who just goes from, one thing to the other and kind of, he like continues to do different things. I mean, he produces and does that stuff too. And now he has a family. So I just think he's very successful and he's consistently like engaging in the business and creating art.
Yeah, and he's had a really interesting journey as like an LGBT person in the industry, because he's one of those people who got caught up in that like 2000s like I'm not gonna come out yet kind of thing. And there's like a lot of there's a billion reasons why. It could be very personal. It could be like your agent being like, not yet, you don't have enough MySpace followers or whatever they thought was important.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, I knew he was involved in theater from a very early age, I believe. Like he was a choir section leader when he was like 15, and then like he had to like resign his position to go to Doogie Howser.
Oh my God.
You know what I
didn't
watched
know
recently?
all that.
What was that, Chase?
I said, do you know what I watched recently? That was
What'd
actually
you
really
watch?
exciting with him in it. Dr. Horrible's sing-along vlog.
It's so good.
It's so good.
I've never
I
seen
think the thing I love the most about it is it's especially it was really uplifting for like right now, because it's just like a really exciting example of what you can do with a lot of drive and no budget. Like that's what we
It's on
have
the
to be
writer's
doing right
strike.
now.
Yeah.
It was during the writer's strike, exactly. And they just put this little thing together, and they used their resources creatively. They were like, well, we can't really afford some like crazy cameras, so they did it like a vlog, which we all have that resource. Like just really creative kind of stuff. It was exciting. It was very like, oh, we can do stuff like this. It's cool.
I need
like
to
it.
check that out.
Yeah, now it's
fun.
cool
It's
seeing
really
like
fun.
people like doing it left and right. And this quarantine we're all in, I feel like all of our creative juices are like flowing in a different way, because we have all these visors and things taken away from us. Like things are like clearer for the first time. Do you guys feel that way? I just feel like all the distractions are gone. And now like everything's more clear.
Yeah,
And
I feel
I
like
would
we're
say,
not as directly shrouded by like capitalism. I feel like it's still there, but it's kind of separated from us in a weird way,
Mhm.
which is very, liberating. But it's at the same time, it's really, sobering. So it's just confusing how it can exist in like two ways at once, very duplicitous. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, also like I'm oh sorry.
No. It's you, Chris. You go,
I
baby.
was gonna say, as artists right now for everybody, how has this been? Especially, I was gonna ask Gabby, coming off of the Waitress tour and the way that it had to end. Like, how are you coping right now? Like, what have you been up to?
Well, I definitely am very sad. It's very helpful to know I'm not alone. Literally, every single one of my friends has lost a job or multiple
Wow.
jobs that they can't find
Yeah.
jobs. Everyone on this call I know is in that position, even if I don't know, probably I'm right. I definitely feel like it's not as sad, or I guess I'm not as lonely in my sadness because I know other people know what it feels like.
Exactly.
Definitely, it was an unexpected bummer to be sent home. I thought that we were going to be sent back maybe May 1st. And then
Mhm.
when we were told that the tour would start up again with a new start in September, that's when it really sank in for me. I was like, oh shit, this is real.
So was
Like
that
things
what
aren't going to start
happened?
up until like yeah, so we got news that we are canceled, as everyone's tour is canceled until probably September on.
Okay.
So I haven't
So
signed anything yet, so I can't actually say what's going on, but um I am planning on going back, and I think most of us are going to go back, which is good. So I definitely
No.
am very, very grateful and recognize my privilege and the fact that I have a job waiting for me. And
waiting. Yeah.
I hate that other people are not in that situation. I've watched my sister tours cancel. I've watched, summer stock seasons be canceled left and right the past couple days. So
Yeah.
I feel a little guilty having that opportunity waiting, but I definitely am gonna not take it for granted at all if and when it happens again. But otherwise, I'm just here in Illinois living with my dad. My parents are divorced, so I switch off from my mom's and my dad's. After quarantine, I've been sheltered
Mm.
for like a month and a week now. And I'm gonna be here until end of summer. So I started a coaching business, voice lessons. So I have like a ton of students.
Yes.
So I've been keeping myself busy with that.
That's
Starting a
amazing.
book club with Keith, our mutual friends like Caroline and Canning and Allie, and those peeps.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
was like, oh,
So
another Keith.
cool.
It must be.
no, you goof.
Oh,
Um,
I love them. We should
I'll be
talk
on.
about how we met. It was kind of crazy because so shout out to Prince Johnny, this
Prince
beautiful
John.
queer musician who hosts these amazing queer nights and showcases
They're
other
called the Troubadour Lounge.
musicians.
Follow them. They're
Follow
Brooklyn
them.
based. Yeah, they
Find them.
feature queer artists. And we met at Johnny had a house show, Prince Johnny, his real name's
Prince
Victor.
Johnny.
But we met at one of his house shows. But fun fact, Keith, I think I told you this, but you might have been drunk. I actually saw you perform at the West End. So
You saw that?
Yes.
Oh, I was drunk.
I think
That's
we've had
crazy.
2 conversations about
Oh,
it.
you
at this
did
point.
come to that one. I know which
You
one
were
you're
there?
talking about, I think.
Oh, I gotta go. Oh
Fantastic.
man.
I remember
That's
I was
when
like,
we
"You were
met. That's when
fantastic.
Keith
They
and
were
I met.
fantastic." And then
Thank you.
you were there. And
That's
now we're
wild.
here. And look when.
And the other connection we have with the West End, and you're all gonna love this because this does involve all the people you all know. I got an email, and I was, having a really down summer, to be honest. So I was in a very vulnerable place, and I got these emails from Ian Connor, and I'm just gonna share my screen right now because you got to look at how many there are. We got 1, 2, 3, and then this one is just a comm ticket. But it took them a while during the contact, and you know what? Yeah, there you
You
go.
got
You
that?
get the idea.
Keith, why do you have so many tabs open?
No.
Why do I have what?
You have
Wait, that
so
was
many
all of our
tabs open.
phones. Contact tag.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Look at that. Did you see
It was
that?
wild. There was
I
another
saw
Keith,
it.
and
It
he
was like-
emailed me instead.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
Gabriella has emailed me too.
my
I'm gonna
God.
show you. I'm
Ah!
literally gonna show you the email before we even met.
This
It
is
was a really
tea.
brief but warm, sweet, generous email. The email went, "Thank you Hard heart, Gabriella Marzetta, GabriellaMarzetta.com. The generosity I felt in that moment, I felt like I was not alone. So thank
God
you
it
for
was
that.
nice in that response because I think there was I was like so frustrated and I maybe like wasn't that nice. I don't know.
Yeah, it was angry. It was an angry thank you. You don't
Yeah,
put
those
two
hearts
hearts
are
because you're
really
happy.
vicious.
Thank you.
You put them because you're sad inside, and I get that. I get that.
Well,
No, that's wonderful.
you're connected anyway.
Yeah.
Who is Gabriel?
Yes, I
Where
was
is
just about to
Gabriel?
say.
Oh my. Wait,
Oh,
what?
Yes.
Gabriel.
Who are you?
Gabriel, tell everybody about yourself and tell everyone
Oh gosh.
how you're, or you don't have to
Speech.
tell everyone about yourself, but tell everyone like
Speech.
how, like kind of what you've been up to and how you've been getting through this time.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I graduated Point Park, and like other part of my bio, I was lucky enough to do some stuff out of school so far. I worked at North Shore. If anyone's been there, I love North Shore.
I
Oh,
got to
wow.
see him in that. I'm so proud.
North Shore was a dream. If anybody could work there, they should do it. It's an absolute dream
Such a
company to
good
work for.
leader.
And then I got to originate a role in Old Man in the Sea. Has anybody read that in high school?
Yes.
Sure did.
Yes,
It got
I
turned
have.
into a play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got turned into an official play, and I got
Alongside
to.
a Tony Award winner.
Oh my!
Who was it? We need to know.
Wait! Oh my God, guys! Wait, what?
Tell us.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I honestly just forgot in this moment because I'm a.
Oh my God.
Wait, Anthony Corello. There we go. Sorry.
Well,
Is this-
let's
yeah,
hope he doesn't see this podcast, bitch.
He was in Kiss of the Spider Woman. He was the original that part, the male part, not dressing them up. Yeah, Anthony. Remember Anthony Corello? He's actually in a lot of stuff. He was in Phantom.
Wow.
See, now I know. I had a
Ooh.
moment. But yeah, he was a dream to work alongside. He played I played Manolin and he played Old Man. So I played the little boy in the book.
Oh,
And then
whoa.
we had a live violinist on stage that like it was just a beautiful experience. But yeah, I got to do that back at my alma mater because they built a whole new brand new playhouse. So I got to do that like a year after I graduated. And now I got to do also New York musical festival. That was fun.
Yes.
That was fun.
Rest in peace.
Wait, was it a play? Was it a straight play or was it a musical?
Which one?
Old Man and the Sea.
That was a
Old Man
straight
and the
play.
Sea.
That was a straight play. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was a play with music. And Anthony Corbello
cute.
sang a little bit of Ave Maria, which was stunning.
Ugh.
And it was in the middle of the boat. It was like a scene where he's out at sea, like in the book. And
I
just
wish I could have
gliding.
seen it. Like the production was like incredible. They had like an actual pirate ship on the damn set. It looked like, didn't they?
Oh
Let's
yeah,
be a
yeah.
fan.
They had the way they made the set. It was like
It was
they had this
crazy.
like balcony. It was like out at sea at the docks, and then like a centered piece boat out in the middle. It was just so cool, and it was really like technical. But yeah, and now after that, I laid low for a little bit. I worked at Lululemon before all this crisis. Equinox.
But you had 2 jobs.
Yeah. I recommend if anybody at any point is like, I need a survival job. Lululemon and Equinox are great.
Yes.
They're so bad.
Lululemon is luckily like paying their employees still until June 1st
That's
That's
on
good.
whatever hours they had
incredible.
working
That's
before. Yeah, so they're like the higher ups like gave up to like I think it's 20% each of their paychecks or whatever. Like the
Wow.
CEOs.
Wow.
I could be wrong,
Good.
but the higher ups.
That's
Good.
crazy.
I'm like good.
Yeah,
As
That
they
company
should.
literally, like, that company really cares about their employees.
Yeah, no, and Equinox put us on furlough, but they were like, this gives you the option of applying for if you need to unemployment insurance. You know what I mean?
They could use the
Which-
PR too, I suspect. You know, it's been a
Sure,
wild
okay.
year for
Well,
them.
at least Lululemon
You're not
like
wrong.
isn't. Wait, wild year for them. What happened with Lululemon?
Yeah.
Equinox.
Equinox.
Oh, Equinox.
Oh,
I don't even
who?
wanna.
Oh, you mean because of the whole Trump thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy.
Well,
Did
well,
you put
Lulu, well, Lulu is the good company. Equinox is.
Yeah.
What happened with Equinox?
No.
No,
Wait.
they're
Equinox is a good company. It is a good company.
Gabe, tell me.
It's very corporate sometimes. I'll say that.
are there perks to it being corporate?
You're a
though?
mole.
Yeah. No, like So what I will say about Lululemon and Equinox though, is that Equinox, I have a free membership to any of the Equinox gyms except for the really expensive ones where like famous people go or like really wealthy people go. So like Printing House. So I can go to like Equinox in all the way downtown or in Brooklyn. So I will say having a free membership at a really nice gym, it's like really nice like equipment and stuff. And like
Wait, but what was the scandal?
just
Because
the
The
producer,
owner
not the
is a
producer,
Trump
one
supporter.
of the CEOs or people who donates to Equinox, gives money to Equinox, is a supporter of Trump and was holding a
What year?
party, Trump party. This was like back in like September.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this was like
Remember
this
that?
summer, yeah.
it's
I
like one of the
remember.
members
Like,
of the board, right?
Listen,
Yeah.
and the people called and were like, I remember working that day and people were like, excuse whatever, you can block this out. They were like, what the fuck? Like, cancel my membership. Like, how fucking could you? I'm like, I'm just working here. I get paid $15
Oh
an hour,
my
baby.
god.
Hey,
So they,
hey
people
Gabe,
were
we're not
calling
cursing
you
on
guys
this
like,
podcast.
What?
We're not cursing on this podcast.
No one fucking
So
told
don't
me
he's
say
that.
lying. He's lying.
I know. Bitch. No, just kidding.
Gosh.
But
No, that's
and
good though. I think it's
Lululemon. Sorry, go ahead. What?
no, it's important to be able to like make the difference between like what everybody thinks about it on social media and like what a company actually does for its employees, because there's a lot of rich, like I know my friend worked at what's the boat on the water on the west side. It's like a really old boat.
I know
at
what
the
you're
pier?
talking about.
Yeah,
42nd?
it's some boat that like people
the-
the Voyager or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it's like they serve food and drinks and stuff like that, and it's just
Yeah.
always docked, but you can go on it. It's like this red
Right.
boat.
Yeah, at 42nd Street and 12th Ave.
Yeah, it's a museum or something also. But anyway, my friend was working there as a box office person, and his boss embezzled $130,000 worth of like tickets that he was just selling of his own to visitors. And it's like, yo, we're not gonna like shit on everybody on the boat because of one bad seed, you know? Like Equinox has like the amount.
Right.
If you think of all the people that lost weight at
Well,
Equinox,
hold on. Wait, there is a
could-
difference in those situations, though. The one is like someone internally taking advantage of the system, and the other one is, by definition, someone like part of the reason why it can continue is because they're getting money from this thing. Like, there's a difference between taking money out and putting money in that's really important to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And like that's what the difference is. I mean, it is also important to notify the difference. It's like it's not the owner; it's someone on the board. It's still someone on the board, but
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
there is a difference. It's there's a lot of really like.
I will say, I
Does it
believe
matter?
Equinox ended up cutting ties with that person.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, that makes
because
sense.
they like that there was a huge impact on the people that were signing up for memberships. But overall, Equinox is a great company to work for. I won't lie, and so is Lululemon. So I'm thankful in that, and especially in this time, I guess like wrapping it back to the question, but like especially in this time with everything going on, I'm so grateful for Lululemon even just giving me anything when I know many people have completely lost a
That is
job.
very true.
And I know even though that I'm furloughed in Equinox, my manager was like, we're going to hire all you guys back because we need you guys. So I know
That's great.
whenever this ends that I have something to go back to.
See, 'cause my tour said peace.
That's the sad part.
They
It's just
gave
watching all my
me-
friends lose their theater jobs, and also just thinking like, when this all ends, like, imagine now if we thought like the competition was tight before, not the competition, but like getting a job was harder. Imagine
yeah.
after this, it's gonna be seldom to none. There's gonna
Of
be
course, like even
we're
just
gonna be
for
starving.
exactly.
I mean, I'm used to it, honestly. As a non-binary performer in New York, like mainstream jobs do not exist. Period. Like that's not a thing that I have access to. And it's caused a lot of struggle. Like whether it's like talking to my family about jobs or even like discussing like the finding a voice teacher that is good about these things that still provides me with the kind of pedagogy that I'm looking for. It's interesting because there's different, like everybody has their idea of what you'd be good at, right? Like type is this weird pervasive thing for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And like you might see yourself as one type and other people see you as different types, right? Imagine that, where you're walking around in a world where everybody sees you as something that you're not, even outside of the lens of theater.
Wow.
So it's really
Serious.
wild being in this world, which is part of the reason why I started writing my own show, because it's like, I went to Emerson College, and one of the things that they say very often is make your own work. If you don't see
Yep.
the stuff that you want to see, do it yourself. And it's
So true.
that's been more fulfilling. And so like I find that I end up doing a lot of cabaret stuff, and I do, you know, some more fringe stuff, and the stuff that I've been able to find that I've been comfortable about and like looking forward to is really exciting, because then you meet, like, it's bubbling, this group of people, this subculture within the theater world is like developing right now. And so if you book one good project, you know, like half the people that are like on the roster, like just from like being around these people.
Yeah.
Like I was in New York for like around half a year, and I got on Telsey & Co.'s list for non-binary actors, because it's that small, you know. And it's I mean, I also like to think that I fucking worked my ass off to get there, but still I have to acknowledge that like it's still slim picking. So it's interesting to see like what's gonna happen after this. Like, you know, like you said, it's gonna be harder for everybody to get jobs. I'm interested in like what those jobs are gonna look like, because this is exactly the kind of event that should spark some sort of artistic renaissance. And I'm just excited to see the art
Please
that
say
comes out of
that,
it.
Julius.
I
Yes.
want to see the art
Yes,
that
I
comes out of
agree.
it, you know?
I completely agree. Yeah, Jace, can you just talk a little bit more about what life is like as a trans actor? Because
Girl,
it's
I don't
loaded.
even, like, it's
Because people
it's
don't
weird.
understand.
You know what happened the other day? This was the first time I experienced it. And I know it's not, I know it happens for people all the time. I don't post on Instagram very often. I'm not super like, I'm like, if I'm excited about something, when I go out, right, you know, I forget to ask people to take pictures, because I'm like present. I'm doing whatever I have. You know, that's whether that's like my acting training to be like, just be present, you know, to like feel the moment, you know, whatever that kind of hippy dippy shit that they teach you, like it sticks with you, right? So I don't take a lot of pictures, so I'm not on Instagram very often, but I saw someone commented on a post of mine where I literally, the caption was the date and then hashtag they them, right? Someone I don't know commented on my post being like, a mentally ill dude.
Ugh.
And I literally, it was comical to me. Like I saw it and I laughed.
It's
That's not the reality
crazy.
for a lot of people. A lot of people, that's really like harsh and harmful. But I looked at that and I went, LOL, what? Did you just search the hashtag they them just to post
Just,
it? Like
yeah.
you literally, if you have such an issue with people that are non-binary, why are you spending your attention and time on it? One, and then two, I said also, if you're gonna come for me, at least be creative, sis. Like,
Okay,
Yeah.
bitch.
that's boring, mentally ill dude. I'm actually like, within my sight, within my circles, I'm actually like not very mentally ill, which is a blessing, especially being within the trans community, right? Like I don't experience a lot
Come
of
on.
mental illness, whether that's anxiety, depression, other things. Like I have bits of dysphoria and dysmorphia. Obviously, I'm fucking trans, but like as far as how that manifests in my body, it's nowhere near what it's like for other trans people. Let alone like trans women, black trans women, especially. Like that
my
is
God.
that is like the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. Like
Mm.
those are the most oppressed people. Like just trans women of color in general, you know, like
And the people that are being murdered the most, from what I see.
exactly. They
Trans
are,
women
and
of color.
it's really wild because when you're in the trans community, you know the trans community, right? So you hear from the trans community. I hear just about every single time a trans woman is murdered. I know about it. It's in my wheel of consciousness. The other thing that's in my wheel of consciousness is how no one in the mainstream media talks about it.
Talks about it, yeah.
Because in order for you to talk about it, you have to address that trans is real, trans is beautiful, and should be, you know, looked after. Trans lives fucking matter. You have to address how race plays into it. You have to address misogyny. You have to address like patriarchy, like all of these things. You have to address the stuff that we don't want to address. We love to minimize everything down to like a shareable, quick, you know, like virtue signal, like I'm gonna throw my hashtag out there, you know, like a cis white liberal kid who's applying to Stanford and goes like,
I have a
like I
question,
saw this
though.
thing. They like one of the
Oh,
like their application things is like, what matters to you, and they just write hashtag Black Lives Matter like 25 times, but they don't do any actual activism. That's bullshit. It's garbage. It makes me so mad. But that's kind of like what being trans is. Someone I know, I love, my best friend Chala. They're also non-binary. They just did something with GLAAD and Instagram for Trans Day of Visibility with their partner. And they also did something with Logo. Like they're doing some crazy cool stuff right now. But they tweeted out on this on a Twitter that you won't find anywhere. And it said, what people think being trans is, like surgery, hormones, dysphoria. What being trans actually is, rage, unadulterated fury, and like a penchant for anarchy. Like literally, like it's the subculture is so different, because in order for you to really understand who we are and how we tick, you have to understand how so much of the world is institutionally working against us. And it's not even like, so it's so much more. I'm gonna relate this to theater. South Pacific, I hate that show. I hate it so much. Are the songs pretty? Sure. Nice and lovely. They're so pretty. Wow. Oh, I'm so glad that I feel unchallenged by this show that's challenging. It is simultaneously about how racism is bad and racist. It's also simultaneously about how misogyny is bad and misogynistic. And it doesn't make any sense. But when people talk about it, the mainstream, like kind of like we're virtue signaling kind of aspect of it is, well, you know, these are topics that are still relevant today. It's like the topics are the same. The discussions are entirely difficult. The main premise of South Pacific is you've got to be carefully taught. We're past that, bitch. You ain't taught racism. It's in you. That is institutionalized, and it's a whole different ballgame. So to then reinforce in old white audiences, because let's face it, that's most of theater, old white wealthy audiences, to make them feel good about their relationship with a racist society. You know, you tell them this kind of, I don't even know how to describe the story of South Pacific except for boring. I mean, it's like, you got to be carefully taught, and then like you're like, wow, I'm so glad I'm not racist, and it's like,
oh goodness,
It's wild.
literally mic drop.
We'll say this is going back to what it's like being like trans in this community. That's what it's like being trans in the community, is looking at everything and going, fucking really?
Seriously.
Like the fact that Santino Fontana won a Tony for Tootsie?
That's embarrassing, man.
Like, here's the thing. I like Santino Fontana. I have a bit of a gripe with him now, but I like his work, right? But the fact that and then they went on to do, and they were like, well, that worked. Let's do Miss Doubtfire, which, to be fair, when I was younger, was like one of my favorite movies. But like,
such a classic.
We know things now.
Yeah.
You know? Stephen Sondheim.
We've evolved. We should know better at this point, especially the theater. Like, I get your Broadway, and like,
exactly.
You know, but at the end of the day, like, you represent, and it's sad now because off Broadway is now the new Broadway from what I'm seeing. We take a moment in every episode
in
to
terms
discuss
of quality.
a strange
in terms
loop.
of avant-garde and Strange Loop.
A strange loop. A
We
strange
just
loop.
talked about that the last podcast too.
I
I can
saw
talk about it again.
And Chris, we actually have like a little. We're gonna have a person from there, but we're gonna wait until we film the opening of this show to tell Chris. So Maya and I are sitting on that, and we have somebody from A Strange Loop that's gonna be on this podcast, and it's pretty fucking dope.
Okay, I guess we'll talk about this later.
Ha ha ha. I also want to. I want to pause for a second, you guys, and
I might have some wine.
Oh, I actually do as well.
Anybody's got Moscato?
No, I have this red.
Are you in college?
Wrong.
Read him. Read him.
I did come prepared for this episode, though. If you check. Oh wait, here we go.
Hey.
Yeah, I only found one of the socks, so I'm only wearing one sock right now. Wonderful.
That's like one of the most.
I want to get
All right,
to.
I'm hitting the low.
Cut this part out.
Oh, cut this out. Okay.
We ramble for like 40 minutes, which was kind of wild. But one of the things that we talked about, and it's very relevant to the conversation we were having earlier too, is because like I said, I'll just keep going. Like I won't stop. Like because I feel so like these affect me directly, and it's like hello.
Yeah.
But the idea is the conversations are usually not getting to the people that need the conversations, because like the forums are usually people that are all within the community already. Maybe it's a couple straggler allies and stuff. But the trick is, how do you get these discussions moving in a way where you point at, like, these are problems, like they're gonna be uncomfortable. How do you balance the level of discomfort that should be there, but not being too uncomfortable that people are ostracized so much that they don't want to be there? And it's a really delicate balance. And one of the things that I say in that other podcast is, I think the best way to do that is by telling stories and by making theater and allowing the people that make the theater to be the voices that we're trying to give a boost to. So often we give platforms to people outside of a community to give voice to a different community. And it's like, while that is good, it is a bit, white savior, but the idea is, let communities tell their own stories. And I feel so privileged to know the people that I know, because that's the goal with my show, is to tell these stories from the perspective of the trans community, within the trans community, but be able to kind of connect it to people that otherwise wouldn't listen to this story. So like, for my show, the big plot, it's inspired by the students from Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida, and the way that the journalism students organized after a school shooting. I took that kind of idea, because I'm from Florida, and that was actually in the same school district that I'm from. I took that idea and I made it so that it was, instead of the journalism students organizing, it was the queer student union, especially because like there's such a long and time-tested history of queer people organizing, I mean, Stonewall, and then also like the Pulse shooting, like, I mean, it's activism is in our blood. Like that's what we do as queer people. And the idea was that like kind of flip this narrative, and it's about the protagonist is a trans girl, and her partner is non-binary. Their best friend is a chaotic bisexual, and then we get the story of also like a baby lesbian, like someone that's just coming out. But the story, like the story of the school shooting is one thing, and the story of trans people is another thing, and they're both topics that are really important to me. But they're also both topics that we so easily just lean into, like trauma porn. We're like, look how sad it is to be trans.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it's like, feel bad for these people. Don't actually do anything. Just feel bad so we can feel better for ourselves for not having to deal with that. And the idea is, I took all of the trauma out of it. I mean, it's still there, obviously, but it's internalized, and it's more about the response to it. How do we uplift ourselves? What are these people like? And so frequently we see like trans girls portrayed as this, or it's about that. And the trans girl,
or like manic pixie girls, or
the manic pixie dream girl, or like even like with a bisexual person, they always end up with one gender, and it's always implied that it's always very subtle. Pay attention, even with like Maureen, it's not implied that she's bisexual. It's implied that she came out as gay.
Right.
But she's bisexual, but it's not ingrained in it. And the idea also, this, and then even attacking just hegemonic heterosexuality, like high school musicals, right? You always end up with your perfect partner by the end of the show. How many of y'all are still dating the person you were dating in high school?
No, fuck off, Troy, Gabriella. You guys are done. You guys are done. Not you, Gabriella.
Gabriella's canceled.
Or Gabrielle, whatever the fuck her name is. Where is Vanessa Hudgens anyway? I also wanted to ask you, Jace, if you like, I want to know what you thought of there's a sad small amount of visibility. There should be a lot more of non-binary people on television. We have like Asia K. Dillon in Orange is the New Black, and Billions. She's a series regular. She's the first. They're the first person to use they them pronouns on Billions, and
yeah, I remember when that
on
happened.
television.
That was a really exciting event. Yeah.
And Theo Germain on The Politician and Work in Progress, which I love.
There's actually several people in Pose too that are playing trans women that are actually non-binary.
See, there you go. There you go.
Pose is so good.
Pose
I
is
love
fantastic.
Pose. Gabe, talk about Pose for a second.
Oh, wait, hold up. I'm not an expert on Pose. I just started watching.
Oh my god.
What I will say is that the acting
I'll be in the background, you guys.
The acting is together and it's there, and the beats are specific and tight. That cast is doing the work. Okay,
It's good.
Yeah.
It's,
so good.
it's easily the best representation of camp I've ever
I was
seen.
about to say, because you were saying like there's not many people, but you're right. That are in the business that are non-binary, or even trans.
Shouts out to JJ, who's a non-binary producer. MJ Rodriguez. Yes, I met MJ Rodriguez,
Yeah.
and she gave me so
really?
much life.
Oh.
I was on. This is a great story. I'm gonna tell it. So
Yay!
I was leaving work. I always forget about my wife. So I was leaving work with a group of people, and it was the one that I didn't go out with this group of people. It was just not my cuppa. I was like, I'm tired. It's 11:30. I'm going to sleep. But we were like, no, come on, we're gonna go to the vault. It'll be cute. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So we're all walking, toward where the shared lift is gonna be, this big van for all of us. And I'm standing around, and it's like the one day where I was like, I felt cute enough, and I felt like motivated enough to actually put on my makeup and look kind of in.
Yes.
And we're standing around on the street corner on 10th, actually pretty close to the center, which is the shit. Check out the center if you don't know what it is. And we're standing around, and I look over my shoulder, and I just see walking toward. I see MJ Rodriguez, and I recognize her immediately. And I'm like, this is also right after they made it public that she was going to be playing Audrey in Little Shop in California.
Yeah.
And
That phenomenal video, right? I think that video, that changed a lot about that. I think that changed a lot for the people who only saw musicals like Little Shop and South Pacific and that stuff as one way.
It was in your face trans. It was in your face non-white. It was in your face new school. It was everything, and it also showed you how it's possible to take old classics, change a fucking key, and put trans people in. It's not that complicated.
It's not
anyway,
that complicated.
so she's walking. I look over here and I see her walking towards me, and I'm like, and I'm standing next to someone. There's a drag queen named Lacey Stoner. They're amazing. Look them up. They're fantastic. Who I worked with at the time, and I'm looking, and she's walking. I personally, if I see a celebrity in the street, I don't say anything to them. I just stare in awe. I go.
Yeah, I've had to learn to be more of an adult about that kind of stuff. As
No, I just don't want to bother them. I'm like, look, these are people. I don't want to get in their business. These are people, And so I'm staring, and of course, Ish is Lacey's boy name, and Ish sees me, and I go like this, and I turn because she moves, and at a certain point, MJ and I start making direct eye contact, locked, she locks into me, and I'm like, and I turn, and Ish goes, "What are you staring at?" Oh shit! Literally, and then she freaks out, and then Ish, I forget with the order of events, but Ish starts talking to her and is like, "Oh my god, I love thank you for stuff." And she's like, "Oh my god, I don't even have no, I don't want to basically immediately I don't want to take any pictures kind of vibe." She was like, "Oh," she was like, Ish goes like, "Oh my god, you're so beautiful." She's like, "Oh my god, stop, no, I really don't even have anything." And he was like, "No, I don't want anything. I just want to tell you how much I love you." And she's like, "Oh, okay." But
sorry, it's about to get really loud right now. I just wanted to put it out there. It's 7 o'clock, so people are cheering.
Yo, it's 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
let's fucking applaud. Yes. Woo!
See, they don't do that in Brooklyn. Nobody does it in Brooklyn, but
nah, it's not a Brooklyn thing.
A whole minute. Let's fucking go.
It's a whole minute.
How do I turn this around? I'm old.
Yes.
Yes, Gabe.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah. Yes.
We don't do that here on the side.
Mike's in Jersey. Mike's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I wish. That would be so fun.
Hey,
Aw.
hi, shake this ass.
Do not
Hell.
drop
Very
the phone.
inspiring.
Do not
Okay.
drop the phone.
All right, it's 7:01.
Okay, so
Word.
but anyways, she's locking eyes with me, and she's saying
Remember-
this, and she's just kind of like, yeah, it's okay, and she's staring at me, and she goes, "You are gorgeous,"
Oh,
and it was one of those things.
you told me the story, but it's
It's like it was, and I was like, I felt like I was about to fucking die. I was like, oh yes, thank you for the pup. I appreciate the puppy.
Oh,
But like,
That's
she's like,
amazing.
you are so gorgeous, and I was like, and then I started talking to her. I was like, hey, like, congratulations on Little Shop. Like, that's so exciting. Like, when I heard that, I freaked out. I was like, yeah, oh my God, thank you so much. That means a lot. And I was like, I was like, thank you so much for everything you do. Like, it's such an important, like, it means so much to me, like, within this, to be able to be like, hey, it's possible. And there was this moment where there were like 12 people around us, right? And it was just the two of us. And it's one of those things where like, there's a moment where it doesn't matter what the fuck's going on. There are two people having a conversation. And she's looking at me and she's like, we're out here. We're doing this. Like, this is ours, and it was just one of these moments of like seeing trans and being able to be like, this is like, things are starting to happen. And I was on a cloud for the rest of the night, for a week, honestly. Still on a cloud by it.
Wait, so are you in the house?
What?
Are you in the house?
Yo,
Okay.
That's my mother.
Okay. I remember on my stuff. What's up?
oh my God.
But yeah,
That's
it was
amazing.
it was truly one of those like moments. It's one of those. It's. I think the other moment that I kind of felt like that kind of stuff was happening was when I went and saw Hades Town, which is so good. The ensemble is very intentionally dressed in like, the clothing is not gendered, which is very intentional. And that was exciting to see.
I love the design of it and all that. I will say this is where you're proudly going to disagree with me, and the only reason you're going to disagree with me is because the only reason I didn't like Hadestown was because I didn't know the story that it was based on, and for me, I was just like, ooh, we're in a jazz party and it's Hadestown, and like I love that, and the music is phenomenal. But
I will say it was one of those shows while watching it, as someone that also knew the story, who while watching it kind of forgot the story until the end. I was like, oh yeah, that's how it ends. Duh.
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's phenomenal.
But it was one of those things, the show didn't hit me until I was walking out. When they say the line, we tell the story over and over again, not for the flower that blooms in green pastures, but for the flower that attempts to bloom while covered in snow. And that really solidified that the story was about class solidarity and
you make it
and
sound
oppressive structures and like pushing back. And like it was one of those where it was like, we don't tell the story for the people that are doing this all the time. We tell the story to the people that have been pushing against all odds, with the hope that one day, eventually, if you keep doing it, eventually they won't turn around at the end. Something will be different. And that's when it hit me, because the whole show I was like, why are we telling this story? Because for me, theater often misses. It's like, why do we tell the story? Like, why are you telling this? That's the thing that's missing for most shows, especially on Broadway for me. And that's when it hit for me. But what I was saying about it was going into the audience at a certain point, right? Sitting down, I look around, and of course, like Whoopi Goldberg is there when I see it, because you always see like one celeb.
Yes, Whoopi.
Paris was there when I saw it, actually. Like,
but I'm looking around, and it's one of those things where I literally went, oh my God, there are so many trans people here right now. And my mom just goes, what?
Oh my gosh.
And it's one of those things, like you know your community just by like little flags that are like there only for within the community. And it was exciting because it was like, oh my God, like the realm is opening up for us, like the mainstream is welcoming us. It was exciting. It was really cool.
Michael, because I haven't heard from you in a bit. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Can you tell us about how was it working at Main State?
Well, first of all, really quick, I just wanted to say that I feel I'm kind of in not the same situation as Gabrielle. I wasn't on tour, but I was supposed to be doing Titanic, the musical, which I didn't like tell anybody about. I didn't announce or anything because I always wait to announce something until I start rehearsals. But I never started rehearsals. So I have this book since like December. And I was supposed to play Barrett in Titanic at the Fulton Theater, which would have opened. It would have opened like Thursday, and then we were supposed to tour and go to Main State. And those are the two theaters that I just played Jim Hawkins and Treasure Island at over the past couple of years. So I would have been like fresh in these people's minds doing this new role back to back, and then it all just got literally just like. Almost like, you know, me washing to shore in the Treasure Island show. Like that's what happened with this whole virus. Like everything just gets postponed and you adjust, and it's almost like a new environment. And in a way you have to build back up. But at the same time, I think I'm kind of hopeful that in terms of, we were talking about like an artistic renaissance and the need for that. And I think I feel like people are kind of, they're realizing that we're going to need to fill these gaps. You know, I'm getting tapes and stuff for just like general auditions for casting companies that are like, you know, we're really going to try to hit the ground running once things get back up and moving. So I think it's imperative that we see the opportunity that we have, you know, to build back up and to fill those gaps, even though it is going to be harder because we're coming from a place where we had to like settle down a little bit, and now we're building back up. We're not necessarily at the same place we were to be building from a foundation, but we still have all of these opportunities, I think, that are going to come up, which would be cool.
I think so. It's also
that is
important.
not what the question you asked me.
No, it really is, because that's what I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you, like, what have you been doing to, you know, kind of cope through what's been going on, and like you said, start getting active again and remembering that, you know, life isn't ending just because this is going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to answer that and also answer your original question and kind of tie it together. Main State, in addition to like working at, I hate you guys. In addition to working at Fulton, one of the most fulfilling something that has been extremely fulfilling for me, just in performing and in the arts in general, has been not only being in a cast of people and with a company of people that are dedicated to doing that, but you're surrounded by a community of people who are very supportive of what you're doing. So that's what Main State Theater was like. And at the same time, literally not being able to be a physical community with people because of the distancing thing, I think has affected everyone. But that's one of the things I really miss about, I mean, I've been telling people, like, after I worked at Main State over the summer and my show finished, and I don't want to say, oh, I didn't book anything until December, because people are like, well, you know, I didn't work over the summer. I didn't book something in December. So like, I definitely have to recognize my privilege there in terms of having another opportunity come up. But in the period of time where I wasn't, you know, I had like a program at BDC and I was taking classes at a community college, but I didn't feel like I was in a community of people who understood what I was doing. I almost felt like, I mean, I would come in and see Chris and Gabe, but they can attest, like, I wasn't in a really great place. And I almost felt like I was like, by this point, I've almost sort of adjusted to this kind of isolation in which I don't like have the same resources. I don't have the same proximity to the people that I want to be with. I can't really do the things that I want. Like all of those, a lot of those things were very similar. So I've found that I've had to kind of adjust before being in this. So, but it's still, I mean, it's different, obviously. Like there were things that I could do before, but it sucks in the quarantine, and it sucks not working. But I think the key, the pattern in that is just realizing that community is important.
Yeah.
And going out and being with people is important. So
100%.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Okay.
Gabe, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy, my lovely?
What have I been doing?
Yes.
Drinking a lot of rosé.
Yeah. Oh my God, what was that brand of rosé that we have?
Rosé Brut, baby. Okay, we were popping bottles.
That
You-
was so good.
It's so good. But I've been drinking a lot of
You have a
rosé.
mic, you're dropping it, Michael.
Also just listening to a lot of podcasts and like, a lot of music. I've been like into really like Sammy Ray lately. And, like,
Oh my
really-
gosh.
I had the privilege of meeting her. I danced in one of her music videos.
Damn,
Yes,
Jason's all
you
over the world.
did.
They're like, I work with Oprah. I know Whoopi.
I
Right
wish
next
I
to
was
me.
that
Barbara on
connected.
speed dial.
Jason's a
Oprah
star,
turned to me
baby.
and she said, "You're
Oh my
beautiful."
God, no! I got to be on her set for Denim Jacket because two people that I love very
You're
dearly,
a star.
Dax J-Ro and Gabe Amato. Gabe Amato has danced in several of her music videos.
Yes.
He's phenomenal. But Dax reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we need extras. Come through." And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" I love Sammy Ray, and I also I knew of her through my roommate was someone who did Apartment Sessions, which is a YouTube channel that's really cool.
Oh, I
It has a
love
bunch of-
apartment sessions.
It's a bunch of Broadway and off Broadway and New York-based musicians that play in pits and gig economy. These are the people that do tours and Broadway and all this great stuff. And so they all know each other. And Sammy Ray knows a bunch of them. And I roomed with someone that knows her. All this whole stuff. And that's how I got it was just wild, crazy ton of events. And I go in and we had a blast. She had such a fun environment. Her music's so much fun. She's actually just a really fantastic light. I love her so much.
I actually.
Amazing.
Go,
Wait,
guys.
What was that, Gabby?
I said I love Sammy. Can you hear me?
Yo.
I love
Yeah,
her.
oh, there we go.
I was supposed to do. Was it the blue denim jacket?
It was Denim Jacket.
Well-
You were gonna be there? Oh, also,
Yeah.
oh my God, who else was there? I can't remember his name right now. He does a bunch of originals at the West End all the time, and he does stuff with Morgan Riley a bunch.
Uh,
Kyle?
I don't know. Morgan
Kyle
Riley.
Haas?
Fabulous.
No, it wasn't Kyle. It wasn't Kyle.
Oh, well, I was supposed to go, and then I got a case of the social anxieties, and then I was like, I'm just gonna stay in bed because I'm just gonna be awkward, and I
I
regret
was gonna
so much.
ask you to talk about that, Gabby. What is because I know that I experience that a lot, social anxiety. Can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah. It feels. What did you say? It definitely. Yeah, that definitely helps.
For social.
Ah!
Being on the road and stage touring, it's equally so wonderful, but also really I just get so in my head about how I appear to these kids at the stage door, and then in general if I'm hanging out with people, I don't know, I feel like I'm an extrovert when I'm on stage, and I'm a comedian, physical comedy, that's my thing and in shows, but when I'm Gabby, it's just it's so different. I'm such an introvert. I don't know, do you guys experience that as performers? It's
100%.
especially consistently 8 times a week, my alone time, I needed my alone time, and as a performer I actually find that I needed to creatively recharge, and so that's not a bad thing, but I definitely having social, it's not great, it's annoying. I always want to just go home and play The Sims.
Exactly.
I love Sims. My sister and I, we used to make families on families on The Sims 2. We watched a soap opera when we were younger. One Life to Live. And we made the characters on the soap opera, unlike ABC, and we made the town of Landview
Oh, that's amazing.
on The Sims.
Better go
Especially-
off on Sims 2, Keith.
Gabriella.
If you want to invest in your
Gabriella,
Sims
I
lives,
just
then
wanna-
what are you even doing? Why do my
Exactly.
Sims die? I
Is that
downloaded
a
this
Joe
mod.
Exotic?
Okay. There's this mod
Is
called
that the
Wait,
Joe? Okay.
Wait, what'd you say? Sorry, the audio is so behind, and
I
sometimes
know.
No.
you
When
say-
people are trying to talk at the same, it's hard. I wanted to compliment you on your shirt, and I wanted to see.
Oh yeah, you weren't here when we were like,
Joey
yeah.
Oh, Tiger King.
Yo, Pete Buttigieg saying he was the first openly gay candidate to run for president. That is a lie.
Out of here.
Lie.
Guys, this is
How
actually
dare he say that?
Snotty, love, snotty.
Dude's like,
Wow.
Thank God for it
Tiger.
too. Oh my
Let's
God.
talk about that. Yeah, we don't like him. So yay.
Oh.
That's
So we talked about that already? Okay. About
Oh,
Tiger
I
King?
don't know if we really talked
We'll
about it.
talk about Tiger
Did we
King.
touch on that?
It's I
it's-
binged it. Literally like
That's
from
been a great quarantine binge. Oh, me and my partner did it in a day.
yes, same.
Yeah,
Literally
I watched
like
it
from
in a day.
1 a.m.
I
to
watched
7
it
a.m.
right after you told me about it, Chris. I watched it.
Oh yeah, I forced them to. I literally forced Gabe and Mike to. I was like, stop everything that you're doing. Watch
Literally,
it
like
right
he
now.
broke the quarantine and he came over our houses and he shoved us.
I came to Jersey.
So
Oh.
wait, real quick, because I'm curious because I want for my own so I can steal. I want to know what are y'all watching during quarantine? Because I
Yes,
Okay,
thank you
okay,
for asking
okay.
that. I was gonna ask that.
What are you watching?
Okay. So me?
yeah.
So you start.
Me? Oh wait. All right. So I'm really, really into. I think Tiger King got me back into it, but I had already been really interested in investigative crime documentaries. I guess if you could call it that in a way. So The Keepers on Netflix. If you haven't seen that series, it's an investigative crime doc based on like an entire this really widespread case of basically like sexual abuse in the Catholic Church and Catholic school system in a certain part of the country. I think like
I'm watching
somewhere
this.
in Pennsylvania or something. And it's investigating basically the murder of a nun who worked at a Catholic school, who
Jack.
apparently told these girls who were getting abused that she was going to do something about it and tell someone. And then all of a sudden she shows up murdered somewhere, and her murder has never been brought to trial. And the person who they think and the people who they think perpetrated the murder they're nowhere. No one's ever been charged with anything. No sexual abuse charges have ever been charged ever. The statute of limitations is up on almost all of it. It is one of the most interesting and frustrating at times, but it's that and Don't F with Cats on Netflix.
I've heard
Yeah.
Don't Fuck with Cats is crazy.
I have a title, but I've never.
It is literally
Baby.
crazy.
That's
Wow.
fabulous.
I started watching Little Fires Everywhere, and so
I
love
need to watch that. I
Oh,
need to watch it.
Reese
Yo,
Witherspoon is it. Like she's
I-
it, baby. She's swooping it all up, and I love it. So it's like just
despise Elena.
What'd
She
you say?
said, I despise Elena. She is just.
Is that her character's name?
Who's that?
It is.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
Basically,
god.
Little Fires Everywhere. They got
You're gonna
Kerry
be-
Washington with her studio, Reese
Oh.
Witherspoon with her production company, and they're making this together. And it's
And they
basically
give such amazing performances. Kerry Washington,
Dude,
Ah,
so powerful because
Kerry
she's so goddamn still.
So
And the
good.
way she just like stares and then just like takes like that long meaty beat before she says anything.
yes,
I
meaty
watched Big Little Lies season 2, and I think that is some of the best acting I've ever seen. Nicole
Wow.
Kidman
Oh.
won an award, didn't
I
she?
gotta watch this.
They did. They
It
all
is
wanted
so good. Meryl Streep, phenomenal. Laura Dern, everyone.
Oh,
Like,
she's
Oh my
wow.
god.
that is a masterclass. Recommend.
I'm so
The Meryl
glad that we're doing this right now. I'm
And
like getting my list
Laura
ready.
Dern moment. The
Where she's like, I will not be rich.
Acting. Date,
The show
want,
I've been on.
desire, desperation.
I love it. My favorite moment of season 2 is when Meryl and Laura Dern are in Starbucks together, and Laura's like, I can't even look at you right now. And she walks away and she forgets her coffee, and they're going to the same place. No spoilers. You'll get to it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'll take that for her. And
We'll take that for her. We're going to the same place. So
Ah.
good and like being so evil, but like being someone we all know who like they're not actually evil because they haven't
I've
done
been-
anything.
I've been watching Killing Eve.
Oh,
If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's
I
so
need to see
good.
Sandra
I love
Oh.
anything done by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, though. Like,
Oh my God.
Fleabag is
Fleabag.
also amazing.
You know what I do have to
Um,
plug, y'all? On Amazon Prime Video, there's a girl named Ali B. Gorey. I think maybe some of us know her. She started this series called Able. And it features people in the industry who have physical disabilities.
What?
And it's
amazing.
phenomenal.
Wow.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Ali Stroker's on an episode. There's like a ton of
Yes.
other people, and it's getting the conversation going about like why can't we have a Katie Heron with crutches who has cerebral palsy? You know what I
What's the
mean?
show called again?
Abled, a series.
Abled?
And it's touching on the same thing. Where
Yes,
you
love.
know, it's like the same
It's
thing.
not
Where it's
binary.
starting a conversation and just
Where's
like
my dog?
breaking the
I'm
stigma.
writing this down right now so I watch it. Abled.
Yes.
Abled.
You know what's a classic that I just watched that is still so good? Titanic.
What?
And I needed to be reminded that
I have never seen
Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet are American film royalty. The
I've never seen
acting
it.
is so good.
I've
I'm
not
sorry,
once
I was
ever
like-
seen Titanic.
You've never seen Titanic?
I've never seen Titanic.
We need to see it together. Oh, I just
Really?
like it. It is
I
a
watched it very
masterpiece.
recently. I went a very long
Hold
time
on.
without seeing it too.
It's so good.
Um,
It's so
I
good.
don't know.
Tell you guys one of the funniest shows you need to watch during all of this.
Right.
It's from 2005. It's starring Lisa Kudrow. It's called The Comeback. It's on HBO. You could get it on HBO Go. And she plays a reality star. Or no, she plays a sitcom actress who worked in the 90s and now it's 2005. And the studio is basically like, we're not going to give you any more offers or auditions until you do a reality show to boost your career. Because they don't believe that a middle-aged woman's life is interesting enough without a reality show. Which
Wait, have
is-
any of y'all watched Grace and Frankie?
Oh my god, I love
No.
Is
it good?
Okay, I was just thinking of like, yeah, it's fantastic. It's so funny.
It's phenomenal.
I need to
All
see that.
Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, unbelievable. I know somebody who's related to Lily Tomlin, and they recently were like talking about it, and they were like, we have somebody in the family, and you know, most of the young people don't know who she is. Jace and I, we know who she is.
We know who she is. Also, my partner, since they were just walking by and they heard me say that I've never seen Titanic, they pointed out that we have old school, baby. We have a VHS player actually in the apartment. VCR. It's a VCR that plays VHSs, right? That's how that works. Acronym. Anyway,
So this is what you're watching tonight, is what you're telling us.
possibly we also have the 70s. We also have the 70s miniseries of It.
Oh,
With
Oh, Tim
Clown?
Curry, bitch. Oh,
Curry, yeah, Tim Curry.
Tim
Oh my
Curry
God.
is scary.
Oh, wow.
The original
it's
is
kind
more
of hard
scary
to follow,
than
actually, but
The original is really creepy.
Oh my god, that's so much
it's fun. It's fun. And then also, as far as movies that we've been watching during quarantine, it's a huge guilty pleasure of mine. I love Marvel movies. I love them so much. I just love them. I can't
They're
explain it.
so good.
But also, one of the best movies ever made, live action, animated, or otherwise, superhero or non-superhero, is Into the Spider-Verse. It is
Yes,
greatest
we watched
film
it
ever made.
together.
Yeah, I showed it to Chrissy. He had never seen it before, and we watched it. It is so good.
I was crying. I was like almost crying at the end. I was like, bitch, not another Coco.
oh
Oh my
my
god,
god.
Coco!
Coco.
Y'all have Disney Plus.
Familia.
Playing Remember Me on the acoustic guitar, and she is probably no older than like 5 or 6, and she is the most pitch perfect singer I've ever heard.
Oh,
She's
what's
the guitar
I'm jealous.
player I've ever seen.
Please send
I'll like
me.
send it to you guys after this. Oh,
Oh my god.
Oh,
I love that
Trying
show.
to take our jobs.
No, literally, that movie can make me like. If you cannot cry at Coco, you have a heart of black
That's the test.
tar. Like,
that's like
I
the
can't
Black
not
sociopath.
tar.
I can't not cry.
If you do not
I
have an
won't watch
emotional reaction to Coco, then you are probably a sociopath or a psychopath. They will do further testing, but that's phase 1 of the
you cannot
Whoever
be trusted.
found out about someone.
Coco. I
Coco.
love Coco so much.
I have been watching A&E Intervention.
Girl,
Non-stop.
you love that messy shit. I love my favorite thing is so whenever we hang out, right? It's one of us. No, but I love Chris. Chris is my brother. But like you know how like anytime you hang out with someone and someone's like, oh my god, I have a YouTube video, you have to see, right? Whenever we pull up a YouTube video on Chris's phone or on Chris's account, it's always like
Judge Judy.
excited, just like yeah. Just,
Judge Judy.
and I'm like, girl, who hurt you? Why are you watching this?
It never happened. It never happened.
Baloney!
Garbage. Never heard of it.
Liar,
One of the
pants
things-
on fire.
One of the things Chris and I watched when I first, so Chris is actually staying in my apartment right now because I was like, I have an unused bed, please stay here. During the quarantine. But when I moved him in, oh my god, shut up. So when first moved him in, we watched what was it? Amazing Homes Architect. What is that show?
Oh, World
You turned me on to.
World's Most Extraordinary Homes.
Homes
Is that
on
it?
Netflix.
Wild.
Wait,
Chris,
I love that show. I
Bitch,
love
when you are stoned, there is not any better
Oh, yeah.
thing to watch. It is
It's
so
so-
beautiful. There's literally one house
is,
where it's
it is.
underground, like it is actually built underground,
see
and
that.
it looks like you have to watch it. So
How do you build a
About
house?
lighting. I'd be so sad.
magic, sorcery. We're watching it. We put it on. We were like, "This is gonna be the background, right?" And then, and then like 10 minutes in, we're talking, and then we just both gotta go.
Just
Chris
as
has recommended
trans.
that show before. It's
No, I
really
didn't
cool.
freeze.
I've watched a couple of episodes. It's really freaking cool.
It's like I would
No,
never
okay.
want to like live there, but like
That's your
I just-
420 suggestion, listener.
Extraordinary.
The world's most extraordinary homes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would
I mean, I love that you're
Yeah,
paying
on
me right
Netflix.
now. I wish I was you.
I want to take this time to make sure we get to see all of you sing on podcast. So I pulled up videos, all of you.
Oh
I found the
no.
ones that I liked. I looked for multiple.
No, there's literally no videos of me of recent, so there's absolutely no.
I knew Gabe was gonna say no. I knew Gabe was gonna say
I'm
no.
glad you
I'm
said
nervous.
that, Gabe, because we found.
Oh goodness. Oh, that's why you have so many tabs. I was wondering why you have so many tabs open.
Why is this
Actually,
happening?
Oh God.
before we do this, do you guys want to take a quick break and hit, and then we'll come back and react and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah. Yeah, okay. I have to make
quick
this
break, yo. I'll be right back.
Oh, I'm sharing the screen. That's why. I just want to get a shot of Gabriella doing her nails. That's gonna be like really
Say
great.
something.
Oh, are they
Yeah.
done?
That's such a
Oh,
pretty
there we
color.
go.
No, I have 2 left. I'll do them.
Yes.
I'm gonna do my nails tonight. That's
Hurry
so
them up.
What's this? Okay.
I don't have any of my nail polish. My nail polish is all with Chris right now. Chris has half of my puzzle collection and my nail polish. And
Chris is a bastard. I think we can all agree. Like now that
how
he's
dare
not
you?
here.
How dare you?
Now that he's
That is
out,
my
yeah,
brother.
God. Oh, God. I've been cringing this in.
Yeah.
Thank God
No, I
he's
love
gone,
Chris.
am I right?
fabulous.
Wait, what
There's
did I?
been an iguana on my keyboard for like half an hour.
'Cause you're
Gabe, what was the first thing I did with Where's Gabe? Oh, Chris. Well, Chris
got
is probably
popcorn.
would know. What was the
You got
first thing that
popcorn.
we
You said
did?
yes.
together? How did we meet?
Whole bag of popcorn.
Was it?
You
halfway through the
bastard!
I was
I can't even be
starving.
mad
Awesome.
though.
Yo,
Can't even
I'm gonna
be
get a
mad.
fiber brownie.
I get it.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm
Oh my
chilling.
God.
Fully chilling. So,
Mhm.
but I'm enjoying this, guys.
Give me a
Everything sounds good.
disgusting
Everything
close-up.
looks good. Please cut this out, Chris. I don't have.
Oh, wait.
Oh, good.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm seriously
Okay,
honest.
Jace
Bye.
has her talkies.
Stop, Gabe.
Okay, we are back. We are gonna go watch some. Well, I guess we'll go down the line. There's some TikTok.
No!
Um,
What is happening? This is crazy.
it's wild. We got some TikToks and we got some fun clips. And they're just things that we'll make our way down somehow. I don't know how. I don't know when, but it's starting right now.
I don't know. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hey, there is not
Never start up in the bottom, never here go.
Oh yeah. One right here. Ooh,
Pause. Have y'all seen the original of this?
Yeah.
Y'all seen the original of this, right? Where she
Yes.
pulls her wig off at the end?
No,
Woo!
it's so good. That's the one we
Hallelujah.
should be watching. I don't know what that one is.
Right. But he's
That
so
TikTok
great.
lip
That was
sync.
great.
He said lip sync for your life, bitch.
Y'all, TikTok has been giving me so much life. I fucking love TikTok.
You like TikTok?
I get it, but I
I
love
live for TikTok. Oh my
Okay,
god.
please.
The queer anti-capitalist content is everything I didn't know I needed and more.
Yeah, someone please tell me about. Yes,
Yes.
Kitchen Nightmares.
I love
Wait,
it.
are we about to see? Do not talk to me like that.
That's
Is that what we're about to watch?
Don't talk to me.
Oh, we're just watching funny videos. Oh, cute. Okay.
Oh, and then we have to watch Kim and Courtney.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Don't you
No,
ever.
we probably can't show that.
I want to see Gabe.
If you send me the clip in the chat, I can put it up. Whatever clip you want, or any clips you guys want.
Well,
that
I
week.
can't. Can they do it?
Yeah,
I can't do it
somebody
'cause-
else could do it if they know.
Chris goes, can they do it?
Shut up.
Hey.
Shut the fuck up, man.
Kitchen Nightmares. It's a fascination I've fallen into for the past few months. Gordon Ramsay goes to failing restaurants and he criticizes their every
So good.
instinct. And he does a lot of episodes on Long Island. I'm from Long Island, so it's dear to my heart to see the trashy people around me being the way they are, just coexisting and in their habitat. And
Just,
is just a quick little blurb that happens 6 more times in this episode.
Oh, we're watching the whole scene, bitch.
Okay. We need the whole context. Exposition.
Is this legal? Are you gonna get copyright shit?
Tonight, Gordon faces an overwhelming challenge. There's nothing else to do. The mixing bowl's business is dwindling, and relationships are crumbling.
You can't get so overwhelmed.
I wasn't told.
Why are you keep saying that?
I'm pissed off. The manager is desperate. I've tried everything. The owner has lost his passion.
Read everything.
That's dying to be put out of his misery. And his wife wants him to shut the place down.
I can't sacrifice myself for the mixing bowl anymore.
Now, Gordon must turn the mixing bowl upside down. Fighting for my life. It's the last chance for this dying restaurant.
To me like that.
Do not talk to me like that.
The last chance for this dying restaurant.
To me like that.
All right. That's,
Oh my
Do
god.
not talk to me like that. Don't.
have you seen the episode? I think it's in the first season when it's the really big Italian guy who always has the
Yes.
espressos with
And
the,
he's fighting
the guy who
everybody.
comes to collect
Yes.
the money. Oh.
What you gonna do, tough guy? What you gonna do, tough guy? Tough guy?
Top guy. Top guy.
Tough guy?
Top guy.
Oh,
He was
and
fake
you have to
fighting
see Amy's
everyone.
Baking Company if you haven't seen that.
Oh my
Amy's
god.
Baking Company is
That was
crazy.
the only one where they had where Gordon actually left and did not
Yes.
finish.
oh,
That was the only one. And they tried to sue him in court and shit too. It was crazy.
oh, I see what I have to do. I have
Kitchen
to
nightmares.
stop share. Here we go. All right. God damn it. Shit. Okay. Here we go.
Somebody's playing a dookie.
All right.
Don't talk to me like that.
Do not
Gabe,
talk
do you?
to me like that. These
Wait,
are
wait.
Gabe's mutual
Gabe,
friends.
Keith, stop recording for a second. My
Oh,
love.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mariah. You're fucking amazing. You're an icon.
Love you.
Scholar.
Patreon.
Okay. Are you comfortable
Found
looking
her
at
soon.
all of our mutual friends and all that? Gabe?
Oh, me? Yes. Go ahead.
This is us. Okay. You know Tony Maloney. Oh my god.
This is us.
Oh, you know
Tony-
Brandon Ocasio. How do you know Chris Garofalo, Keith?
He's a member of he was a member of the Flea. He was a bat with me.
Wait, stop it. How do you know Anthony Sanchez?
Yeah.
One of my best friends.
Who I don't don't know. Maybe I did some West End things then.
How do you know Anna Kovics? I work at Lululemon with her.
No way! She was a stage manager, I think, at the Flea.
Yes.
But I know Chris. I did Harry with Chris when I was a freshman in high school with Broadway Workshop, and we shared Billy and Carrie.
Oh, you know Chris? Oh my God. He
Yeah.
used to do Kids Theater.
You know
right?
Adam
Did you know
Seth.
that?
Adam, okay,
I did
so
not know
Adam
that.
Seth, I was the first, that was my first podcast I ever did. I was doing this play called Secret Identity about a gay kid who loves comic books and is bullied and uses the trauma of his bullying to bring the
I love
superhero
that.
to life. And it is the most incredible, and I got to do it at the Flea, which was wild. And I was like working there, but I was getting paid. And
Yes.
it was just like surreal.
Adam Seth is awesome. He's
Adam
super
Seth.
cool. Love him.
Sweetheart, and so creative and such a great writer. Shout
And
out
such
to
a talent. Oh my God.
Brett
Love
Shizet.
him.
How do you know Brett Shizet?
Wait, how do I know who?
Brett Shizever.
Rhett? Let me see. Rhett.
Ooh, look
Can I
at
just
Chris's
say-
picture. That's hot.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Can I
don't.
just say this
Wait,
is
can
such a
you-
great way to give shout outs to people?
Hey, right.
That guy.
I agree.
Okay.
Oh,
You
talking
don't.
about
DJ was in
Chris
that
Rock,
play I
yeah.
was just talking about. With
Jenna-san!
DJ the audio.
Oh, we should have her in this podcast.
Yes, we should. Jackie.
Jenna and Jace both did my show.
Julia.
Early this summer.
Julia's in Waitress with me. She's my
Julia.
Oh, I know Julia. I did the barn with her. She's the Jenna undercut standby, right?
yeah, she's Jenna and Dawn standby. She
Wow.
went on the 2 days before our last show because I was like,
Oh,
why not? I'll give her.
yeah.
And so
I want to
can-
hear you sing that song
She's
so bad.
fantastic.
Me too.
We love
I
Julia.
looked for bootlegs, Gabriella. I couldn't find any. Those
I
rat
do have
bastards
one I
on
can
Twitter.
send you. There's a wretched clip of me that the Waitress page has shared of me doing When He Sees Me during tech.
Oh.
Wow.
And I
Y'all
sound
need to watch.
horrid, absolutely horrid. But I have a bootleg of a much better one.
Well, that's a pretty great
Please
Did you
send
do
us
it?
that
I
one.
think there
Did you
actually
do
might
it
be
live?
internet.
Yes, do it live.
Oh God, no! It's so much better now.
Ah!
Here
So
we
much
go.
better now.
Gabriella Marzetta.
Ah!
2 years before she got this part.
This
Or
is
Oh, God.
manifestation at its finest.
again,
Literally manifestation.
This is
Got
me
it.
manifesting. But I-
You're so good. You better sing.
I'm like a little baby.
I'm just fine inside my shell, sitting on this way. I get the best view. So when he sees me, I want him to.
you're embarrassed, man. You should not be.
Sounds like that's so cute. Like, I know that was only like what 2 years ago, not even, almost. But like, wow, just like little baby, little goo goo baby, loyal.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it sounds like. I mean, that was first of all incredible.
I mean, it
but I
sounds.
can only imagine.
It's hard because the number is like the only dance number in the show, so I'm being flung around. I'm like literally running nonstop, like throwing my boobs in people's face, like just being clueless and like cleaning up the diner. So it's when I get to sing it standing still, it's like such a gift. But it is honestly the hardest thing I've ever done, doing that number, because it's so hard to like have vocal stamina. It's like a high song, the pattern song kind of, and then at the end you have to like belt this high note after you're literally like running a marathon. So
I have a question for you, because I am sure that doing all those things makes it harder vocally. What is that like for you, having all of that fun stuff to play off for like acting? Because like singing by yourself and doing monologues are so difficult because you don't have direct scene partners like right in front of you. What is it like to be able to have stuff to play with when you get to sing such a fun song?
oh my God, it's amazing because I'm used to doing like new works, and like I went to Cap 21, we did like all our shows in a black box. You know what I mean? Like I'm used to more like experimental theater and like new works as well. So it's really, really cool to be a part of a show that's like it's commercial theater, and it's, we're
Right.
using the set. It's awesome. Like, and it's really cool because this show, it's like a lot of propography. Like we have, like actual like sugar, like we have to actually do like side work that a waitress would do at a diner. And so like I actually have to like sugars, and I have to like bus tables, and I have to like get pie and like bus pie and like all this stuff. And so it's really cool to like, it helps me be in the moment more. It helps it feel more human because like it's usually like the scene's happening, and then me or Becky are like in the background, and we're like clocking everything that's happening. But like it's nice because we're focusing on something else, like a very human thing, and we're still like we get to practice being humans. And Waitress
Exactly. I feel like that frees them.
Yeah, and it's like such a well-written show to begin with, so it's just awesome. Like it's so human. Even like I would say
I have to tell you, so the first thing I ever did at the Flea was directed by Susanna Wolf, who was
Susanna's our director. She's amazing.
I gotta tell you, she's one of the best directors I've ever worked with. She is one of those people who like comes prepared, like she already knows what sound she wants and all that. I mean, with a model like Waitress too, like it's already been directed, and she came from being an assistant director a lot, which is attractive.
She was Diane Paulus's assistant director in the original, so she like has all like the little gems. But it's also cool because this is like our version, like it's
what changed, what was different.
Well, now we don't have tracking on the stage, so there's a lot of added choreography, and the pantry people they're the one, like it's kind of like Hadestown. The pantry people are kind of like the fates, like they like bring Jenna's thoughts to life even more so than the beginning. Like they literally leap up from the scene, will move the table, and then like catch Jenna. And we added a lot of new lifts because our Jenna, she's really petite, so we were able to add ones where she's like lifted above people's heads, and it's really beautiful. Some of the choreography has kind of changed, but otherwise it's the same show. I've gotten to add, thanks to Susanna, I've gotten to add like a lot of comedic moments, which are awesome, which has been cool as like a comedian.
So supportive about that. She was one with me too. She was like, "Oh yes, you're doing." And having those directors who don't, you don't need the validation, but they give you the space to like bring the instrument that you have to the work that you're doing.
It's called a play, honey. Do it.
Exactly. She makes me feel so comfortable to bring this, like to just try it out, and like I'm prepared for her to be like in her Susanna way, like let's not do that, or like let's get this option, like in her cute little Susanna way. Yeah, and it's so awesome that she's like a little bit of both. Like she comes from the world of Diane Paulus, and she has so many memories and like I said before, like little jewels and gems from that experience. But then also she is an incredible artist and director on her own, and so it's cool watching how she's kind of taken Waitress and like elevated it in a way, because our version's a little more human because the ensemble and we're all more involved, and it's just really cool to be a part of. Like it's not a new version, but it's kind of a new version. And I don't think anyone's played Dawn the way I have. So it's really cool to kind of feel like I'm not copying anyone. I'm honoring the text and having freedom to play. So what more could you want? And I get to go props, Jason.
I have to see you in it.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. And next year we're going to be all over.
I love that show.
So
I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Hallie, who loves Waitress. Took me to Waitress. It took me 3 years. I only saw it like when Todrick and Miranda Sings were in it.
Oh yeah.
Hallie
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, "Oh, that's that blonde guy who's always with her." And I'm surrounded by 12-year-olds at the stage door because we got to get autographs. And Todrick is there too. And I was like, "Oh, I want to sell this. Can you sign this little thing that says you're playing this role?" He was like, "Yes, I will."
He said, "I want to sell this."
I want to sell this. So we are going to get back to watching everybody, and we're gonna go over to Michael Nigro's delicious performance.
Look it up.
Musical theater is all the munchies I need, man.
Oh.
Here we go.
Of course, I don't care much. Yes.
Come on, hair perfectly coiffed.
Yeah, what kind of shit?
Yes, spin, Mike.
Yes.
You are ridiculous, Mike.
How do you
Damn.
sleep at night with all that talent on your ass?
Does it weigh you down? Is it heavy?
Ah!
Ooh,
Thank
that's
you,
a sound
guys.
clip, a soundbite. So
When was that, Mike?
That was not last summer. I don't even know if it was 2 or 3 summers ago. I had played MC in cabaret at Broadway Workshop when I was a junior in
Yes,
high
double
school,
cast with
and
Will.
that was with Will Callahan. Shout out to Will Callahan.
We gotta get him on here.
I love him. I love him so much. I've stayed in touch with him over the years. But that was probably one of my favorite, if not favorite, roles I've ever played. Was MC in cabaret. I love that show. Oh my god. It's just
one
like
of those. That's one of those like kind of dreams up there for me too.
Oh, you have to play that part too, Chase.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
I wanted to ask you, Michael, about the journey to getting and booking Sound of Music, because from what I'm seeing from all your work, Titanic, like you love cabaret, and now you've done Sound of Music at NBC. At a lot. By the way, were you in Bethpage? Were you at Grumman for that?
Mm-hmm.
So that is down the street from me. My dad used to work at Grumman.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And now he got laid off or something. Sorry to
Well, also just to let everyone know, Sound of Music was when Mike was a little younger. Mike was a little.
How old were you, baby?
I was 14. I think 14. Yeah. I was a freshman, 14, 15, 16. No, wait. I was 14 when I booked it, I think, and then I was 15 when we started rehearsals.
Yeah. Had you booked work before that, and like what was the work?
The year before I was there are a couple different versions of the Radio City Christmas Spectacular show, a couple different plots, and there is one where there's like a teenage guy and he has a younger brother, and they're like trying to get home, and they run into this Salvation Army type Santa Claus who actually ends up being the real Santa Claus, and the teenager doesn't believe in him. His name is Patrick, blah, blah, blah. And I actually did that the year before, and the kid and it was a national tour, just seasonal, and the kid who played Ben, my younger brother, was Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things.
No way!
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about what was that kid? I've always heard he was like just a kid, right?
He's very chill. We have very similar senses of humor, so like we vibed a lot. And I've kept in touch with him over the years. I actually went and saw him in his high school musical of Spelling Bee, and he was great. And it was just, I love it. And so that was really cool. I've sent him some, we've just kept in touch or whatever. He's just a really great, genuine, down to earth person. But anyway, so I did that. And I was auditioning again that summer to be in the Radio City show with the same role, because it was only a year later, and they said I was too old. So I was upset, but I was like, okay, whatever. And then I couldn't get an appointment for the Sound of Music live on NBC, so I had to go to the open call. So I
you went to the open call.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
I got up at like probably 3 a.m. or so at home with my dad, and got dressed up in like a little suit and everything. And I went into the city, and I was the first kid sitting there. and everyone started to line up behind me, and there were, I guess, I don't think they got into the thousands, but there were like hundreds and hundreds of kids who were there. It was like a big like cattle call, like Annie.
You were the first
And because
person
I was,
online?
I was if you look at back at like the documentary where it shows I'm a couple people back because like different people came and people were mixing around or whatever, but when I got there, I was the first kid who was actually sitting there, and it was like it was still dark out. It was that early, but I was like, I want to get here first. And then they had the film crew show up for NBC, and they looked at certain kids, and so I made sure that when they were getting really close to me, I was practicing, like warming up and stuff, just going over my songs. And they pointed at me and were like talking, and they were like, this kid.
Oh,
That's really
so
smart.
then-
That's really smart.
I love you.
Dope as fuck, bro. That's what hard work does. That's what getting up in the morning does, man.
That was
Yeah.
also, but I like
Yeah.
that's just so cool because that was literally you at 14. Like that just goes to show,
Yeah.
like that you like even that young that this means a lot to you, and that like because especially like in that age too, like when you're kind of like 13, 14, like a lot of kids like are not into theater, like don't care. It's more of something that would be like an obligation, like if they were still going out to audition. So that's just really
Yeah.
cool.
They just don't have the
Even-
discipline. They don't have
Yeah.
the self-discipline. You
seriously.
have to start that young.
Yeah.
So-
That I think wrestling actually. I started wrestling when I was in first grade, and I wrestled all the way up and stopped like my freshman year of college. But that's one of the biggest things that has instilled discipline in me. It definitely helps, and it's like dancing and everything kind of just all comes together. But definitely being in an environment where it was like you're not supposed to talk and the authority figure is talking, and you do a lot of hard work, and the end result isn't necessarily that you win or you have the perfect right answer, but the work that you do to get to that point is very important. And just being in an environment with people who are taking it seriously and are buying into something, that's important. I mean, that's community.
Yeah.
That's what drumline was like for me. I did drumline like all the way from
I did
like
not know that.
school. You didn't know that? Yeah, I was captain of
No.
4 separate drum lines growing up. I was in the first elementary school
Yes.
drum line in South Florida, and then I was captain of my middle school drum line, and then I was captain of my high school drum line. But also there was something I did that was called WGI, which is indoor percussion, which is this whole other monster. It's super theatrical. It's really close. It's inside. It's fantastic. And it's a really direct crossover. And that was also I did WGI with a couple different high schools actually, like outside the ones that I went to, and I was center snare for a couple of them. So yeah. Oh God.
I love this song.
I love this song, and I love the way Jace does it.
Raise your brain, honey.
Yes.
This is from Heathers. Obviously, if you're watching this, you probably know that.
I didn't.
When the eyes get lost in the pain, shut your eyes tight till you vanish in sight. Let nothing remain. Freeze your
Hate you.
your load. Forget 6 weeks. Be back on the road. The voice in your head says you're better off dead. So help me up there. Just freeze your brain. Freeze your brain. Go on and freeze your brain.
How dare you?
Oh, that was tight as fuck. I mean, what is there to say besides
Sing.
like everything you were saying before, Jace, is validated by the work that you do. Okay.
What's happening?
No,
Get off.
but this is why I am so excited
But
that
that's
you are
important.
creating your own work, and that you are going to be in the work. I don't know if you told everyone yet, but Jace is also going to be in the musical that they are writing.
I
And
wrote a role for myself. I said if Lin-Manuel Miranda can do it with like In the Heights and Hamilton,
Yes.
I was like, why wouldn't I? I mean, if there is, this is actually, it goes back a long time, even before I ever wrote, because I wasn't a writer, but it used to be growing up when people asked me, what's your dream role? Before I even came out as trans, I would always be like, I don't know, what? And it kind of resonated with the fact that every time I would look at a character on stage, I wouldn't really identify with any of them. There are certain roles that I didn't want to do but as I came out, I realized I wanted to queer them. So JD being one of them. JD actually, when you make JD like trans or non-binary, without changing any of the script, there's actually little things that actually make it that much like better, and like the way that it queers the story of it is actually really exciting. But I used to say when I started coming out, and a little bit before it, people were like, what's your dream role? I would always say it hasn't been written yet.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to then go, why wouldn't I write myself? You know, why wouldn't I write
your
for
own
myself? Write for my own self. So the show that I wrote is called My Own Worst Enemy. And the lead is a trans girl named Stacy, and her partner is Jade, who is non-binary. And if you couldn't tell from the direct similarity to my actual name, it was one of those things. And it was important to me because, I mean, there's so many different non-binary roles out there. And a lot of times when they're within the mainstream, they throw it in last minute as just like a thing, or they lean really hard into the transition, what they were assigned at birth. And with the thing that makes being non-binary a bit different than being a trans woman or a trans man is there isn't an assumed initial assigning of gender at birth, because there are non-binary people that were assigned male at birth, and there are non-binary people that were assigned male, female, like everything at birth. And it was really important to me that there was a non-binary character written in the musical theater canon that wasn't being locked into having to, because the second you say like non-binary assigned female at birth, you're locking in, what you're really saying is we want a female body in severe quotes that goes through what we like a voyeuristic transition, and it doesn't do anything for me. It actually pisses me off, especially because there's also, even this is more into it that I really need to get into, but within the community there's this idea that non-binary is just like either a drag queen who's like I'm gender fluid, or it's mostly like people who used to identify as lesbians and then realizing that it's something a bit more, it's a more post-gender thing. So the assigned male at birth non-binary people, there's this weird, it's like they're either like a toned down trans woman or they're a drag queen, and I'm like, I'm neither of those things, very clearly neither of those things. I very frequently refer to myself as a dyke or like as like a tomboy. But it's this weird pocket. So I was like, I'm gonna write a character that is explicitly going through non-binary issues without ever telling the audience what they were assigned at birth, so that when I'm done playing it, any non-binary person can play this role, because I didn't want it to be restrictive. The last thing we need to do when trying to open up the world of musical theater to trans people is to be restrictive in our breakdowns, you know? It's also important to me that Stacy, as the protagonist, didn't need to pass. She didn't need to be a passing trans girl. She didn't need to be like she could have really short hair. You know, it didn't matter where she was in her transition process. All these things. It was if you were, because I know so many trans girls. They look so. I'm rambling at this point. I love trans people so much. But yeah, that was one of those. That's one of those roles that I'd love to queer. JD in Heathers.
And if I may, I think also you should be Tommy in the upcoming revival.
Oh yes.
Are you? I swear. For Tommy, like,
no, why would
I completely agree with that. I completely.
Wait, like the Who's Tommy?
Oh.
Yeah. 100%.
I've done the Who's Tommy.
Like the Who's Tommy.
I've done Tommy. I've been Tommy.
No way.
You need to do it again.
Yeah, I used to talk very frequently how much I love Tommy. I think it would actually be really exciting to cast Tommy as a non-binary person and have it be this kind of, because especially think about it. This is a child who was deprived of sensory perception for most of their life, and then they grow up and then they come into these things. Why in the world would that person prescribe to the same gender norms that everybody has been taught through socialization? They wouldn't.
Casting. We need to forward this video to casting. Come on, Telsey, get on it.
I would love to do that show
with
again.
Acid Queen, you know what I mean? Just queer up,
Maggie.
queer
up
Tommy
everything.
2021.
Acid Queen as like a black
I would
trans
actually-
woman would be everything.
Yes, yeah, it should be as it should be.
Oh, hit up L. Morgan
No,
Lee.
this video is actually from 5 years ago, so this is nothing what I sound like now. So this is not a fair testament to me.
Okay, fine. Where
We could pass some videos. I have no videos. Just know that I know. Just know that I know I'm good about my shit, but
Okay.
I have no videos.
I saw a couple.
That's them in their show. Old Man of the Sea.
That's a that probably is like a sizzle reel. It's okay.
Is that it?
What?
Is that your show? This one right here, The Old Man and the Play.
I think that's someone else.
I don't
I see
think
an ad
that's
for
it.
Jumanji.
Their
Yeah,
show
it would
was
have to
so-
be Point Park
Tony Award actor
University.
Anthony Crivello right there.
It would have to
Yes,
say
Tony
Point Park
Award actor.
University. Yeah,
It says Anthony.
it's not.
Crivello.
Oh well.
No.
It's okay. Actually, you should have told me. I would have put together something for you.
I don't know.
I would have put a
Gabe,
cut
send
on
us a
video
reel.
for you. I will. I'll
Send
send it. I'll send it
your
in the
reel.
group chat.
Now.
Yes.
What?
Screen share your reel.
When I make it.
See,
When I
that's
make it,
fine.
I just send in
Yeah,
videos.
you
I'm
didn't
just
hear.
like,
He's speaking of future tense, bitch. This is not created yet.
no, I just send in
Right
videos
now?
on the fly. What?
You want to sing us something right now?
No.
Whoa. Yes.
No,
Live.
honestly, here's the
I'll
thing.
do-
I'll be
I'll
honest
sing
because we could
something live if you
we
sing
could
something
we could
live.
talk about this for a second because I think this is something that needs to be brought up
I
in the
think
theater
this is a
community,
good.
anyways.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I have no problem like about my talent as a person. It's just that as a POC artist in my community, and mind you, I'm Afro-Latino, everyone. So this is gonna go a little deep.
Oh, please.
I have some
Please
emotional
do.
stuff and vulnerable stuff of me as a person. It has nothing to do with my talent per se. Me and Chris were talking about this over Zoom a couple days ago.
And then
I just have a lot of anxiety as a person performing for people. But Chris knows and Mike knows I be singing up a storm and we be shooting the shit.
oh, Gabe
and
is one of
going
those
off.
talented people
But
that I know.
I-
You
but
really,
the
you
thing-
really are. Gabe.
No, thank you. And I don't want no like, but it's just like I
Oh,
think
alright,
for
take it
me
back.
being
Bro, just trying to
That's
gas
it.
him up. He's like, "Stop,
You
stop."
suck.
no, but as a POC artist, I struggled growing up as a person of color. Let's talk about all like perspective here too.
Mhm.
I'm a Black Latino, so I was not Black enough for my Black friends, right? But I was the
Yes,
Black
please talk
kid
about
in my Hispanic community because most Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans that I am, Puerto Ricans are very light, or they're all different arrays of colors. They could look like me. They could look as light as Keith.
Keith, honestly.
Um,
yeah.
Hispanic, the word to use, what is the preferred word for
Hispanic is for people, I'm pretty sure. Oh, Keith, I'm gonna let you talk about it because it's your show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
was
I
just
was-
telling Mariah.
I was saying they can be
Oh.
as dark as me. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm Latina. I'm
Under
Afro-Latinx.
Gabby, so I had to be like,
Yes.
no, it's not Gabby, it's under Gabby.
Ah,
Oh.
Like the
I'm on the
standard.
phone.
a producer, a wonderful
No,
producer.
please continue.
I think I was just reading like Hispanic is people. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mariah. If people that derive from Spanish-speaking countries in South America, so everything basically behind Spain. That's why when people say I'm Spanish, you know what I mean. Spanish is European, like
inaccurate,
Spaniards,
Got it.
and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Latino and Hispanic basically can be interchangeable.
Mm.
Latino is Spanish-speaking country.
okay.
Hispanic
I've heard
is
it's like a square is a rectangle, rectangle is a square. So it's like basically they intersect for most of them.
yes.
One of them has to do with like was conquered by Spain at some point and speaks
Yeah.
Spanish, and the other one has to do with like culturally comes from a Latin background. So like Brazil is one of those like not one but is the other. I think because they technically speak
Yeah,
Portuguese.
because they're Portuguese. Yeah.
So I think
I
they're
think they're
Latinx,
Hispanic.
but not Hispanic, or maybe it's Hispanic. I'm not. I don't remember. I always, every time I learn it, I forget it, and it makes me so frustrated.
So I mean, yes, essentially, you'll hear more people say that Latino or Latina is more accepted, and then in more when you start getting into thought spaces where you have people who are creating the thought around the identity, you now have Latinx. I identify as Afro-Latinx, right? And the Afro part is because under this bonnet there's an Afro. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, now that you're here, Mariah, we might as well have you talk too. We might as well have you talk too.
Go right ahead.
Because
Unless you don't want to be seen.
I literally came here for the conversation.
But like, thank you, Gabe, for bringing up this conversation, because I've always wondered, as a person who is, as far as I know, just Black, how is it like when you kind of get into how is it when you get into, you know, like, especially growing up in school, having to deal with these new things like tugging at you, like what you said, Gabe, like
especially
how
like,
you don't feel Spanish enough and you don't feel Black enough, and you're trying to like find your space in like both communities.
I think it's really hard because like we're in, you know, our generation's very much, as much as I love being a part of this generations, we're very much people to call each other on each other's shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're very a generation triggered. Trigger words get us really quick. And then we're ready to cancel culture, and we're ready to bat, or excommunicate. So it's hard because like, it's like you try to fit in to be Black enough for your Black friends, and then you're the Black, they call it negrito in community. So you're the Black one for your Hispanic friends. So it feels like you're always in a constant loophole. And relating this to theater, performing, it's like it's so funny because like I've talked with Chris and Mike about this a lot. I feel like I'm such a unique person as artist, as a person, where I could do a lot of different things. I don't have like, we all don't have limits, we would hope, but I don't have like a specific pocket. So I think for me, especially because I'm ambiguous, I never felt like I had a place to stand and be like, this is where my talent is going to shine. I've been told, play your Black roles because you look brown, or you can be the young one, or the funny side, classic Black stuff, ethnic stuff.
Right.
Yeah, because
I talked a little bit about this on another podcast that I was doing, because it's nowhere near the same extent, but there is crossover. Intersectionality is something that everybody should be kind of fluent in. Read your Kimberly Crenshaw. But the idea that labels, whether they are racial labels or gender labels in any circumstance, while they are liberating for the self because they help you identify within the community that you belong to, and they can help you, they're gifted to other people, they're not for other people to use on you. Labels are entirely insufficient and inefficient at describing who a person is. So like, so say, I was just saying, just because it's something that I can talk about, because I can't really talk on the race aspect, like I'm Jewish, but that's like not, I'm also a white Jew. There's a distinction. When you, but like if you describe someone as like, oh, well, they're gay, what does that actually mean? It's they partake in a very specific type of action. And even there's different types of gay. And if I say, oh, well, he's gay, she's gay, they're gay, that doesn't tell you anything about that person, you know? And when you say someone's like, oh, well, they're Black, it might give you like a bit of an indicator as to like certain cultural things. Just as saying you're gay would do that, but you don't know anything about subcultures, you don't know anything about interests, personality, you know, like talents, you know, drives, interests, like they're entirely insufficient for describing a person. And that's why typecasting is so frustrating. It's because we try and minimize people down to a description.
I think it's not even like, I think it goes especially for people of color, not, and I'm not trying to be like one or the other.
No,
it goes beyond even like a labeled word. It's just the way we're seen. You know what I mean? True. Like when they look at Chris Cherry, let's keep it 100. When they look at Chris Cherry, they're gonna be like, let's look at him for Dreamgirls, color purple first. Let's know, because we know that he's that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is also a gag because, sorry to cut you off.
No, I was going to say, why can't Chris be in Dear Evan Hansen? Why can't Chris be in, like, go ahead, Chris.
Exactly.
It's so true.
I said a couple weeks ago that he should be the next Usher in A Strange Loop, when they do it in Washington.
I gotta learn about this show.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It's
I gotta learn about
phenomenal.
this show.
You can listen to it on
But no,
Spotify.
you're
Go
you're
ahead.
absolutely right, Gabe, in that like there is an element of like that is in often, you know, like marginalized communities are not always on the same ring, whereas like queer is something, being within the queer community, something you can gift to someone, right? And stuff like that. You can stay in the closet and not, you know, and like not turn it off. You can't turn it off, so to speak. You can't turn off being Black. You can't turn off being
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna say too. Like, and you know what I was also gonna talk about too, and I wonder, Gabe, or even Mariah, if you want to chime in this on this too. Going in for Black shows, it's also it's a lot too, because what I've been noticing with a lot of Black shows, it's like now it's not even about like the artist's work in the room. It's still about like, oh well, does this person have a six pack? Like what, like for roles where it doesn't even matter. Like I will never forget, I went in for Cece in Dreamgirls, and if anyone doesn't know Dreamgirls, Cece is the character who literally like is in the background. He writes all the songs for the girls. Yes, and I went in for
They
this
got
role.
your Black ass too, huh?
Shut up, Gabe.
That's why I'm
But yes, that's Effie's brother. And I will never forget, this very buff gentleman went in before me, and this was for the CC understudy. He got an incredible response from her, and you could see through the window the whole audition. I don't know why they didn't put a curtain up or some shit, but you could see. And she's just like her eye, the casting director, who shall not be named because I won't be messy like that. But you know, just looking at him with just such admiration, you knew that he got it. You literally knew. And then when he was right before me. Then I went in. I literally said to her, like, I tried my best to be as warm as possible. I was like, hi, my name is Christopher Cherry. She literally goes, cool. And just does not look up from her phone one time. Not in a way of like, oh, I'm taking notes, but like, oh, I am actually not.
You don't take your damn notes on your phone. Be a professional.
Yeah, it's like I am literally not paying attention or caring about anything that you're doing. So
That's so disrespectful.
Yeah,
I
and
feel like
crazy.
that kind of.
When
I feel like that kind of demonstrates. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, you know, I will put that I'm Afro Latinx on, you know, submissions and whatnot. And even after they've looked at my headshot, which is very clearly like me, like it's like my hair is it's like 4B, my hair, you know, like it's everything about me. Like, so you've seen my headshot, but you're still like, oh yeah, come in for the role. You know, and it's kind of like, oh, who are calling in next? Mariah Cameron. Okay, cool. Okay, come on in. And it's like, but they're looking for this, you know, Afro Latinx, yes, but maybe she has like really like loose curls, and
yeah,
she just doesn't. It's just not me.
It's because a lot of Latino Hispanic roles in theater, this is where I have another problem, is are white passing.
Yes.
Let's keep it honest. Like, I love me Anthony Ramos, but he's super light. You know what I mean? What type of Afro Latino Hispanic roles do you see, or actors?
Even Robin DeJesus.
Do you know who's the only one? Jerome from Central Park 5. He's one of the first. Yeah. And that's why it's like, just to like loop up my little thing. That's why for me, I've been having a hard time as an artist, and I've spoken with Mike again and Chris about this, just finding my own inspiration. Because there's not many people that look like me, and they know, like, I have such a like specific way of being that I'm like, will the industry like this?
Well,
will they like my timbre? Will they like my tone? Because I'm not traditionally Black sounding, but I'm not traditionally. I'm my own thing. You know what I mean? Will they accept that? It's like they want me, it's like as a brown kid, they're like, oh, so like I can riff and all. I love riffing all the time. It's like, but will I do it like gospel? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like a gospel Black kid. That's not my riffs. I love my Chris likes to call them like he calls them computer riffs because they're like super clean, whatever. But like my worry has always been like, when I riff, do I sound Black enough?
Right.
That shouldn't be. 'Cause I'm
No,
forced
it's
into that
so
role.
true.
I do
It's so
also
And
feel like I have to black it up, you know, when I go
yeah,
Of
and I'm like,
course.
for
I
hairspray,
like
when I go
McGill.
in for you know,
Yes.
anything that like if it's a black
Yes.
role, I do feel like I have to black it up. You know,
And I'm
and
like, am I taking
if
that
I
narrative away from people? Because that's not my narrative. So I get
right,
nervous. And then
right.
I have fright. Because I'm like, what is my identity as an artist? Sorry, I did not want to cut you off,
No.
Mariah.
I was basically like, that's exactly right. That's exactly also the point I was gonna make. Like, we have, you know, we as a people are diverse, and then you have, you know, the challenge of typing and the challenge of you know, well, this role was already written and like this is the show we're doing, so like is it really the casting director's fault that like, you know, a maybe an alternative you know, very, you know, not from this gospel root, not from this, you know, area, and that is me as a person, but
Right.
over the years, you know, I've developed very like, you know, different ways to express myself, so like
Mhm.
those sort of experiences are just so far
Yeah. It's
and
like theater's still so
100%.
black and white. Theater, like, I don't want to say it. It's like,
yes,
100%.
the
it's
black has
so
to be
black
this
and
type
white.
of
It's
black,
So it's like for
binary. It's
people,
binary in everything, whether that's
so it's
with
like for
gender, whether
people,
that's with race.
yeah.
We love to split it into opposites, and it's so much more expansive than that. I think like we've become so obsessed with contrast as
Mm.
an idea that we're obsessed with contrast when we should be focusing on gradient.
Mm.
You know,
Exactly.
and just the kind of how things aren't there. I often refer to, for me, one of my writing techniques and one of my art critique / art consumption things is I refer to it as the quantum metaphor, where we have our technology for the longest time has started to function with ones and zeros, computers, binary. That's literally what that means. It's something's either there or something's not there. And that's how we describe gender. That's how we describe race. That's how we describe so many different things within our society. But technologically, not within the mainstream, but where we're at is we're using quantum mechanics. We're at quantum computing, where they could be a 0 and a 1 at the same time, or like it's so complicated and it's so tricky and it doesn't make any sense. But it really just shows you that something either being this or not that is never actually the case for anything. And I personally can't wait for quantum computers to hit more mainstream, because I personally see there's always a connection between technology and current stuff that's happening and culture. And I think right now we're really stuck in separatist binary thinking, you know, essentialist, divisive kind of thought, you know, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican, versus looking at the political spectrum for what it is. You know, I mean, everything we do is made into a binary, and it's not efficient. It doesn't make sense. And it certainly doesn't make me feel good. I don't know. It sounds like it doesn't make y'all feel good either, you know?
It's never how it was even set up to operate, you know.
No, it's
specifically when we're talking about politics, but yeah, no, we you know, there's so many conversations to be had, so many stories to be told, you know, and I think that there's even places where those stories are being told, they're just not breaking down into the mainstream. They're not.
Absolutely.
Heard by the people who should be hearing it.
Yes,
right.
Earlier, Jace, where it's like, how do we get these shows and these ideas to people who live in like towns where I live, who live in small America, and like, how do we get them to accept that?
That's
it's
why
tricky, because like
in every town we can't have like that one hero in every town that introduces it. Like how, and I unfortunately don't know if it's going to be anytime soon. I think
who knows if it's going to be anytime soon. I think
like
it's
the generations under us. Like if our generation, if we are to have kids, I think that it's going to be like
right. I mean, the reason why it takes so long and it's an ongoing struggle is because like subversion is in itself paired with a different set of resources, you know? Like when you are not within the mainstream, you don't have the benefits of the mainstream.
Exactly.
And if you're trying to get into the mainstream without breaking it down from the inside, you're not going to have the same set of resources. However, if you're trying to break it down from within the inside, you have to conform to certain constructs. So being able to get this alternate perspective,
no breaking it down. As I feel like as you continue, if you're in the center, you're always going to be building it up. If you're in the system, if you're in the institution, you're just going to continue to build the institution.
Michael, you said earlier that it's really fascinating because like when we get back to this, right, we started at this, we had a foundation, and that foundation has kind of broken, right? And we have to build that foundation back up again. And while yes, that does make things more difficult, there is also the perspective that sometimes stuff needs to be undone in order for new things to go in its place. Because structurally, if we founded this entire art form on colonial structures, right, we can't just undo them while staying on the same foundation. We do need to break them apart before we can build it back up.
Exactly.
So that's why I talk about the Renaissance coming right now, is because it's like, it's broken, we know it's broken, and now it's broken to a point where it actually kind of crumbled a bit. It wasn't just like, oh, we see there's a crack in the foundation. It's like, no, shit broke.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. That's why
We're the ones that get to build it up, and it's so exciting.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, Brooklyn.
Exactly.
Right now, because we're seeing the people who are struggling the most from coronavirus, and it's affecting mostly communities of color. And it's affecting them most
because they don't have the resources.
Yeah,
and systematic racism.
Yeah, let's not act like that's an accident or that's like a coincidence. That's intentional. That's
because the virus is going to kill a certain amount of people.
That's right.
Let's make sure those people are,
not white.
Right, the refuse of society, basically, like the margins of society. Let's make sure that those are people that we already have counted out. Let's make sure that those people are people we already don't take into consideration or account for in the first place. And that is clear when we look at the years of the census. That is clear when we look at the way we're treating folks out in Flint. That's clear with the way we're treating our brothers and sisters who are indigenous people still living in this land, getting sick by the droves. For what? Like, how is that possible when we've already marginalized them to the back of society? These our indigenous population, marginalized them to the back of society. How are they getting sick? Oh, you mean one missionary just did all of that? Are you serious? So like we just have to be, just as many as aware as humanly possible. I think is just super important.
That's why
how do we do that? We tell stories.
Exactly. That's why I'm curious as to what you guys think. All of you guys can answer this. What do you guys think about these controversies and these conspiracies that are arising about the coronavirus? One of the biggest ones that this is a result of depopulation.
Girl, no.
Or the government trying to depopulate.
No, it's part of climate change. Scientists on climate change have said, they predicted years ago, with the collapse in climate, we're going to have more events like this, viral outbreaks, like things of this nature come with it. We've known it was coming, but we've been ignoring these people because it's not productive for gas intake and for cars and capitalism. Like it doesn't help the wealthy to talk about these things, so we don't talk about these things. But we've known this was coming, we've just ignored it. So I don't think it's a government conspiracy kind of thing. I think that's often that's something that's on like fringe specifically within the right wing, because we've got this Malthusian kind of mindset of eco-fascism where it's like we're overpopulated. There isn't an overpopulation issue. There's a distribution problem.
Right, exactly. We don't have to be the problem. If wealth and land and I feel like my internet is not stable, but if those resources were distributed properly, we probably we would have the nature that's coming back, all that stuff, it wouldn't have been threatened in the first place. It's not the problem of the middle class. It's not the issue of, the working class or even the lowest classes of us.
It's structural.
We're not pumping carbon emissions into the atmosphere, we're not, promoting that. So like that is definitely, it's like a way to kind of silence the lowest class. I would definitely agree with Jason on that. But I definitely think it's 5G though. I just want to, I'm just kidding.
I was like, what?
What's so sad and frightening truly during this whole event is that this has shown and like really shown a light on how unprepared and how our country doesn't really care for its people first. Like the fact, like the federal and the CD, like people at the White House are like fighting and getting, egos and politics into all this with governors of states, like the president of the United States giving mixed signals at a time like this, just so sad. And like these bills, like listening to these podcasts and how the reason why that bill that we just got that stimulus check for took a little bit to pass is because
Still ain't get mine.
the Senate wanted to really give a lot of money to big corporations instead of to American people, and the House fought for more money for the American people, but they settled on that. So it's just so sad that, like, at a time like this, like, the people that we elected into office don't really care for us.
Right.
And also this is also like really so interesting. Like, I made this joke to Chris and Mike over message, but like the kids in high school, when they have to write about this, they better have A's because they have real life resources right here. Like, we're living through history. This is something that
seriously.
we're living through history. Like, identify as a male, but
Mother.
dad, what was the coronavirus? And I can't wait to be like, well, like, I literally was locked down for 2 freaking months in New York City, 600 people dying a day. Can you imagine that? We're sitting here chatting, and there's at least 30 people out the door right now. That's so sad.
No, seriously.
Somebody's card is getting jacked right now. I don't know if you can hear it.
Wow. What? Oh,
Mayhem.
We're just sitting, and we're just sitting here.
but
We know what's happening now, so we have to intervene, or it's like a violation of the Good Samaritan law.
There's a line. There's a line in my show that I actually really love, and it's we can't remain complicit, so it's time we get creative. And I really like that line, and I think it's kind of one of the. This is about. I mean, without going too deep into what the show is, it's about a bunch of kids who can't even vote yet. And they're dealing with political issues, and they're like, we can't just stay silent. You know, we can't remain complicit. So let's get creative. And they throw a parade to get people registered to vote. I'm so sorry about the whole dance break.
It's okay.
Dance break.
We can't remain complicit, so it's time.
Yeah, we can't remain complicit, so it's time to get creative.
Get creative. Sorry, I'm like complacent. That's not what he said. Don't tell what they said. That's not right. That is not what they said.
Oh, it stopped. Okay.
So they got it in.
Thank goodness.
No, we just did a lot of the work, and I'm so excited that this is the direction that it went because I didn't expect it to go this far. I mean, I know when I'm in rooms, I force it to go this way. I didn't expect it to go this far for this long, and I'm really excited. Can I make a recommendation since I talk about making stuff less ostracizing for audiences that wouldn't otherwise be listening? Can we do like a dance break or something, or like play some more singing or something?
I was gonna
something
invite
light and
Mr.
happy.
Party.
Yes. I love that idea.
What did you say, Jace?
Dance party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what to put on. Podcast. I have YouTube ready.
Hit us up with these Instagram videos.
Gabby, how you doing, my love?
I'm tired.
Yes.
I just got real sad talking about coronavirus.
Yes, no,
yeah, that's why I was
real.
like, let's bring it back a little bit.
Not talk about that.
Exactly.
Even though it's important to talk about that, but let's dance it out.
I agree.
This is my friend Becky, and
let's get positive.
It's just hilarious. And I saw her TikTok, and I was like, I want to watch it. So
I love TikTok.
Oh wait.
What, Sierra? I grew up West Sierra. Where did you throw up? I know what happened to the bathroom. I was trying to hurry up, but it came out too fast. Sierra. So you telling me you threw up on my carpet? Mom, I'm trying to clean it up. Get out and go clean that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm missing the first caption after my appointment with the Dick Man with the what?
Wait, where?
Is she drunk and did she
That
throw up
was
from
so
alcohol?
funny.
Oh yeah. After coming home from Dykeman, with my homegirl.
Oh,
What is Dykeman?
Stop.
Oh, it's in the Bronx.
Yeah, she's from the Bronx.
Is it a
It's like-
bar?
Dykeman is like that place in Inwood where it's really Dominican and they have like a lot of Dominican bars. So
I was just about to say, I was like, you never been to Dykeman? You need to
out.
go to Dykeman. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Y'all
great.
need to. I don't know any
In the
damn straight
summer.
bars.
in the summer. Well, there's a gay bar. There's a gay bars in
No,
like,
you mean in 2021?
Castro's is the first gay bar, I think,
Literally.
and it's in right. There's a gay bar in Dykeman. It's called Castro's.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I wanted to show you guys, and when you were bringing up Broadway sessions, I wanted to sneak it in there, but the conversation was far too hot. So this is something I did a couple nights ago. It was a quarantine parody night. And, you know, Jace, you were talking about how, like, South Pacific is this, like, squeaky clean, praised musical theater thing that, like, is supposed to teach us something. Feel the same way about Man. And
About Music Man?
yeah.
Same. I hate that fucking show.
So do I.
Oh,
Get ready
yeah.
to love it. Get ready to love it.
And
Closing your eyes to a situation you do not
can you hear it okay?
I can hear it.
Cool.
to acknowledge, where you are not aware of the caliber of disaster indicated by the presence of a severe acute respiratory syndrome in your community.
Well, oh, and there it is.
Well,
Did you hear that? No. I don't know why that happened. Of course.
Was it like
Oh,
was
I
it
love
a
her.
shorter version of Trouble?
I loved it.
Oh yeah. No. The
well,
well. Let's see.
Jana, what's a special pie for today?
sugar
Blueberry shit pie.
Don't let
I'm gonna
me
get it back up in a second.
Yes.
Time, Chris.
Yes,
This is like my
thank
favorite.
Sounds like a sweet memory.
I want to play
Oh,
Ogie's a
I'm sorry,
dream
I'm sorry,
roll.
I'm sorry.
What?
No.
Ogie's a dream roll of mine.
Oh my god, please be Ogie. Ogie's my dream role. Ogie's such a good role.
It's so
I haven't
cute.
seen
I
it
love
yet.
that show.
It is
I love that
so
show. Oh,
I
it's
have
such
to
a good
fess up.
show.
I have to fess up. I've never seen it.
Charity
Oh,
Dawson goes to my church.
We love Charity. Also, fun fact,
Nick,
it's like the
no.
only musical
Isn't
to
it?
ever talk about the female orgasm.
Really?
Oh,
Good. Yes.
Try to name
Love
another one.
that.
Not even Fun Home. Try to name another one. You
No,
can't.
not even fun.
I literally
No.
like pretend that my pussy is like squirting with a squirt bottle in the show. Like, you would like it, Jace. Like,
I bet I would.
oh, you would like it.
Exactly
This
like what I want.
is
in a musical.
everything.
Uh,
Waitress is
I've been
funny.
waiting.
It is raunchy. It is
I know, I've heard it was so
dramatic.
good. I wanted to go
It's
see it so many
dramatic,
times.
it's
And the
I
fun.
was
music
in a
is
place where I
dope.
couldn't afford it when I was doing it. I actually,
yes.
Gabby, I was planning on going to see you in it for the first time.
Oh,
Oh,
I'll be like in
Um,
New Jersey next year, and like Syracuse and a bunch of other places that are way closer to New York. So there's like
I'm coming.
way more opportunities. And
Yeah,
then I'm still doing
I
Jillian.
think I gave it to you.
But I'll keep y'all updated. I'll see if I can hook y'all up with some comps. We'll see.
Oh, you're so sweet. I
I
love
think
you
I
so
put it back on
much.
the desk or put it on mom's desk.
Wait, Gabby, I have another question for you. When you started the tour, your hair was blue.
It sure was.
it
I'm
was.
Did you have to dye your hair or were you wigged? I know. When I saw that, I was like,
I know. Well, they didn't want to wig me because my hair was like the perfect length, and I was the wig guy was like, oh, she has natural hair, it's perfect, but my hair was blue. Then I was like, okay, so you guys are gonna have to dye it for me, and it was kind of like a fight to like get them to do it and like pay for like hair products and stuff because I was like unbleaching my hair.
yeah,
for the
that's,
show. But my hair was blue for Contact High, the show that I was in.
yeah.
So it was funny because like when I went in for the audition, like I have like tattoos and blue hair, and I'm just like surprised that as
Oh,
casting
but it's
directors,
perfect
they saw through
casting.
that. And so often like casting directors can't see through like the minor differences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Thankful.
I want tattoos everywhere, and tattoos for the longest time. That was a big thing. Was like all
know,
my
and then
tattoos are places where you can't.
Someone, when we were in Tech Week and I asked for tattoo cover up, they were like, well, you know, when you become more professional, you'll realize that like it's not okay to have tattoos. And I was like,
You want me to
get
undo
out.
them?
and I
Who
was like,
said that?
I was like, that's your opinion. I actually said this and I'm surprised because I like usually don't like go off like this. I was like, that's your opinion, but I actually disagree because I got cast.
Oh.
I have tattoos, so
Yeah.
Oh no, Gabby.
Honestly, if anyone's being
Gabby-
unprofessional in that scenario, it's them.
I know.
That guy who plays, I forget his name, but the guy who was Mike TV and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and what have you. he does like, or maybe it was on the national tour or something. This guy who's really talented and he plays a lot of like younger roles. Sometimes we go into
Danny
the same stuff.
Quadrino.
But he has,
Oh, and
yes, he has like
uh,
tutorials of like how to cover up all these tattoos, and he books work.
Yo, Ramin Karimloo is
Oh, I went to school with
covered.
Danny.
really?
We both did Spring Awakening together.
Oh my god.
He was Moritz and I was Otto. I love Danny.
Aw,
I
I love it.
I think I got this working. So I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to start to wrap it up. It's going to end 9 o'clock is the time we have. So let's aim for like 8:55. And of course, it's recording right now, but I'm going to have to edit it.
3 hours. We did good, y'all.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did.
Real fucking podcast, bro.
I knew this one was going to be amazing.
Oh, I figured. He told me y'all were wild, but I'm fucking so grateful that you're mom. All right, this is me doing some dumb shit.
I love your bow tie.
Friend, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of the caliber of disaster indicated by the presence of a severe acute respiratory syndrome in your community. Well, you got COVID, my friend. Right here, I say COVID right here in New York City. Why short? I hate outside. Mighty proud to say I'm always mighty proud to say it. I consider the hours I spend on Netflix fucking golden. It helps me cultivate dank memes and a cool head and a keen eye. Did you ever think and try to steal Purell for yourself or afraid that you just get shot? But just as I say it takes judgment, brains, and maturity to survive a death-fueled plague, I say that any boob can take precautionary measures, and I call that swag. The first big step on the road to contracting a bad shit plague. I say first, you gotta hug your friends and not wipe your anus. And next thing you know, your son's moved back home bringing germs no hazmat suit. And listening to some big out-of-town douchebag hearing him talk about spring break. Gotta break them outdoors now, but a power you're gonna dick down shots on the beach. Like to see some stuck-up frat boy sitting on your dumb kid's face mid your rub bio, well, I should say. Now, friends, let me tell you what's the buzz. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 assholes in the White House. Assholes that make the difference between humanity, survival, and death with a capital D, and that rhymes with G, and that stands for get inside. And all week long, the quarantine youth will be frittering away. I said everyone around will be frittering away. But showtime, Apple Plus, Hulu too. Gotta finish Tiger King. Never mind getting off with unemployment. Get that booty back in shape. More that novel done. Never mind making any money till your parents called running out of savings and you gotta sell the home. And that's trouble. You got lots and lots of COVID. I'm thinking of those Bushwick beanie dancing Park Slope coffee shop mooching off the trust fund hipster punks. They got COVID folks. Right here in New York City. COVID with a capital C, and that rhymes with G, and that stands for get the fuck inside. Now,
Get the fuck inside.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I feel
I
like
love that.
when you're stuck in these circumstances, you just have so much time on your hands. And that's an example of like way too much time I
But
had.
that's good. That's what we should be
Do you
doing.
cut your own
It's
hair,
okay if
Keith?
we're not doing that,
You
but
look
like,
like,
What'd you say?
I said, do you cut your own hair? It looks like you have like a fresh haircut.
Oh no. I went
Mike
to-
is like, did you go outside?
I want to see the receipts.
Yo,
Kev,
the best
so
part about living,
barbers
the best part about living currently with 2 other queer people is that like haircuts, they just fucking happen. Like,
Oh.
like my partner just chopped off most of their hair the other day. Like it's like here now. Like my hair's longer than theirs for the first time.
Yeah,
Oh my
It looks-
gosh.
pretty good.
And
There.
we most of us have like undercuts, so we kind of just let it grow out and then just like we have shears or clippers, and we're just like,
Oh my god.
Oh,
we love it.
I tried to
Practice.
cut my own hair the other day. It looks bad. Not
Oh,
the sides.
yeah, Chris, I was gonna say something, but then no, I love you. You're beautiful.
I hate
You know I love you.
I love you.
All you want to do is talk.
All you do is talk.
Do not.
Do not talk to me like that.
But Gabby, you were saying earlier that like since we have all this time, that's the kind of stuff that we should be doing. I totally.
oh
agree.
yeah, but like not should, because that sounds like you have to be creative while you're going through a pandemic. But like no, it's like it's like kind of what I was saying before. Like I feel like there's like a new level of consciousness happening. We don't like have all these things we have to go run and do. Like we're just here, and so I feel like yeah, like I have given myself permission to like be more creative, and like
Yeah.
through TikTok too. It's like there's small things. stupid shit. Like I'm just like doing stupid shit on like TikTok and like I don't know. It's just cool to see like what people are creating right now because it feels different. It feels like more sacred. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And
I also love the Voicey app. It is so much fun,
that's
especially
so
like
cool.
for somebody who I am also a writer, like I write music, but I haven't in a very long time. Like I haven't been inspired to and just laziness in general. I haven't been writing, but that app is like for anybody who's like singer songwriter at all. It's a really cool app just to get like your creative juices flowing. Like, of course, you can't really use any of the recordings from that app because those beats are like kind of the domain of like the producers that upload them on there, so you can't obviously strip that beat, but it's really cool. It's like it's kind of like TikTok but for like music, I would say.
Ooh,
And it's really fun.
that sounds
So
awesome.
Done a
I
lot of cool
recommend
shit
that
on
app.
there. I was gonna say that shit is. I mean, but Christopher Cherry's voice, it doesn't really need an app to make it.
Oh,
It's
Lord.
yo, I every time this motherfucker opens his damn mouth, he had for those of y'all who don't know, he had a show that he produced called Cherry on Top, and he just put together this incredible team of people.
I love
And
it.
shut up. And he's singing one of his songs, and I like all of a sudden the vibe was fantastic. Like the people in the audience were like, it was church, y'all. Like I'm like I don't go to church. It was church, and I literally like there were several times when this motherfucker would sing something, and I had no option but to take my damn shoe off and throw it at him. No option. My brand new shoes.
It is on tape, and I am so happy. Oh my God! Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, for my birthday this past year, because I've always like wanted to do something like that on my birthday where it's more than just like, oh, I'm getting lit with my friends. Like I wanted to like actually do something where not only myself but like my dear friends, we can all come together and just create and like do what we want to do. Like kind of what you were talking about earlier, just like a lot of time as artists, because the industry makes everything so binary and puts everything into these boxes and put us into these boxes, a lot of times we don't get to do the material that we want to do that artistically excites us. And so I just wanted to have an opportunity. I didn't care what you were doing. You could have stood on your head. I didn't care. But if like as long as it was something that artistically excited you, that you felt comfortable doing, that's what I wanted everybody in that show to be doing. And I just still cannot believe the people that said yes to that project. It is a night that I will remember.
It was incredible, like down to like the band, like
oh my God.
This was like for people didn't realize what was going on at the duplex that night, but that was like the up and coming. Like that was like a night that people who didn't know about should have known about. But you know, I might be a little biased.
I love you so much.
Well, I think we have reached a natural conclusion because I feel like everybody, we've gotten to know all of you so incredibly well. We've gotten to know what you stand for, what disgusts you, how you sing. Which is really why people are here. No, I'm just so grateful to be able to talk to people who I wouldn't have met you guys as well as I know Chris. Like I know Gabriella, but like people like Jace and Gabriel and Michael, these amazing squad of people. I'm so grateful that we have a platform to talk on, and so we're so passionate about so many different things, and I love you all. This has been
Truly, guys.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, and I because most of these people here are, I mean, like Gabby, but I would say everyone here, mostly like my near and dear friends, Gabe, Jace, Michael, and Gabby. I love the four of you so much. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out to come talk with us and just chill. I know a lot of times too, like going back to like social anxiety, it can be a lot to do something like this. So especially with everybody going through hard times right now. So I really appreciate you all coming on and talking with us.
One last thing, two last things we're gonna do. We need a very brief, one sentence thought. Tiger King, Michael.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm first. Okay.
Gross.
I'll just go with the easy one. I think that Carol Baskin was involved in the disappearance of her husband. That's all I'll say.
Oh, strong words, powerful stuff. Chris?
And I've watched lots of investigative crime documentaries. So okay.
Oh yeah, she 1000% did that. Every single person in that documentary, except for the person who lost her arm.
His arm. He's trans, and they misgendered him the entire
Oh,
documentary.
what?
Mm-hmm.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That makes
I think
me
there's
really
there's
pissed
like
off.
one moment where he's correctly gendered. Sorry, I had to.
No, thank you.
Him, I thought.
He uses
But
he,
then
him.
on the last episode, he said that it didn't bother him as much, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't respect
Sure,
that.
we should.
But
Yeah, it was one of those things that they didn't.
They weren't.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, I feel like that part alone just goes to show like how it's just gross and sad that like there are so many people out there living in our country living like this, like, and I'm sorry, a lot of those people are Trump supporters, not, don't want to demonize anyone, but I just think it was an interesting spotlight put on these people who kind of live this lifestyle that we know nothing about. So yeah, I can talk about it all night.
Jace? That didn't count.
One sentence. I find it's going to be a complex one. I find it fitting that we have been so drawn to Tiger King currently because while the world is in such chaos, somehow the insanity of the Tiger King makes all of this seemingly normal.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is brilliant.
Gabrielle?
At the end of the day, they're all murderers.
Exactly.
Think about it. Like
so true.
Every single one of them, except for like the last husband.
Yeah.
And who knows even?
I'm obsessed with that picture, by the way.
The campaign guy's harmless.
Oh, that poor guy. Oh yeah,
That
poor dude.
Because he's like,
He was a
the whole time,
libertarian
he's
guy.
like, I didn't ask for this.
At all.
Just he like did not
He
want
was
to.
like, nothing was good.
He didn't ask to be there when Travis shot himself. Like, I feel like
Exactly.
he's like, I didn't ask for any of this. I feel for that kid. He's just a stoner.
I feel so bad for that kid because he was, but like, I mean, not to go on a tangent because I know we're trying to wrap up, but it's
mom
like
still works there.
Yeah, like, because like I said, I've been watching a lot of Intervention, and it is sad. Like, a lot of people are drug addicts who are with these partners that just not only enable but literally fund their habit, and there are so many people that are dying as a result of that. So I was glad that it put a spotlight onto that too. So yeah.
Gabriel?
I haven't watched it yet.
You started?
Girl, do it.
Gabe.
Should I?
Now.
Keith, your turn.
Easy watch, kind of. Hurts your heart a little, but it goes
Yeah.
by like
Keith, it's your turn.
Oh, Tiger King. A surprisingly irrelevant show that I think has helped get through the past 3 weeks. It uses queerness and animal rights activism. People are just around all their pets now, so it's kind of the perfect time to pet that kitty or that dog and save
Can
him.
I pet that dog?
Well,
Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog?
Hey,
Can I
hey,
pet,
hey,
pet,
hey,
pet,
Hey.
Get it.
I said a pat. I said a pat. Get it, pat. Let's get it. I said pat, get. Forget it. Get. Okay.
Cat dog.
dog.
Cat dog. All right.
Yes.
Carol Baskin.
Yes.
Just throw it in there.
Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin did it.
All right.
Thank you for inviting us all. It's so exciting. I mean, we're nothing without community, and this is so exciting to be able to be a part of this. So thank you guys.
Yes, love y'all. Thanks for doing this.
Thank
and
you.
keep up with this
Pleasure.
podcast, talking about the real things, bringing some light in our quarantines.
Oh,
Yes.
Talk to you guys.
I truly, from the bottom of my heart, this has been like one of the best conversations I've had in front of a computer by far.
Amen.
Might be,
Up there.
if I think about it. All right, you guys are all good to go. Actually, we're gonna get one last thing. I'm just gonna say your names and then thank you, and that'll be
I'm
it.
at 3%.
Oh,
Okay.
if you need to bow out, that's fine.
Perfect.
I'm at
I feel from
3%.
this
We can do
point.
it.
Okay. JC, Michael Nigro, Gabrielle Marzella, Gabriel Florentino. Thank you so much.
I love y'all.
It's smart.
Yes, Chris. Yes, you said.
You
said
didn't
it's
say
Marzella.
Marzella.
Thank you.
Marzella?
Marzetta.
Marzetta.
Wait, Gabrielle,
Marzetta.
knock me
Florentine.
out.
Riella
Wait, Keith,
Marzetta.
also, Keith, I go by Jace, but if you say my full name, it's Jason Ziv.
Okay, so it's not Jace Ziv, never.
Yeah, it's Jace when it's by itself. I add the N, so there's not the the. It's weird to me. So it's Jason.
Oh, that's
Ziv.
awesome. Because then it's like share.
It's like French.
Yes. I love it. Gabriella Marzella. Thank you.
Zetta.
Oh God.
Take 3.
Wait, that's the way. Wait, that's the way the podcast should end. Like the podcast should end right, and then it should just cut to that part.
And then
Marzetta.
Zeta.
it's like voiceover of Marzella.
Wait, I'm
Can that
losing
be
it.
your button for
Gabriella
every
is
episode?
killing
Okay, wait.
me.
Gabriella.
How do I say this? What'd you say?
Gabrietta Marzella. No.
Gabrietta.
Gabriella.
You guys right now look at the fucking screen in front of you.